also bring up that thing. Hold on.
My fucking bomb ass outline.
Chris just sends a picture.
What's wrong? How else would you do it?
I don't know, like text, like a normal person.
Like paste it in an email.
The fuck's an email?
Oh.
I'm kidding. I
did put an email. I should have.
I do like 200 emails.
It's okay. It's not that big of a deal to me.
You're the worst, Justin.
First of all, why do you have Bezos at the bottom of it?
I wondered that too.
That's Spanish for kisses. That's besos.
Oh, I was like,
kisses.
What does
Not
Jeff
like
Bezos have to
Jeffrey
do with this?
Bezos.
Yeah.
No, it's besos, like kisses. Like that.
Like he knows that's not how his last name is spelled, right?
It's good night kisses.
I mean, like I know that, but like
this. You know that Papa Elote means corn daddy.
It makes sense.
Now.
Elote
that would
is
be
corn.
like. That's interesting.
Right.
I just started learning Spanish. My husband and I are both doing Duolingo, so those are
awesome.
not words that I've gotten to yet.
It's fun. Spanish is a fun one.
Latin was more fun. I taught myself Latin.
Don't hurt me in Spanish.
You taught yourself Latin? That's terrifying.
It was super fun.
Is it really?
I got an A in like everybody around me in this Latin class is struggling, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm taking the honors course. Like whatever, I don't know.
What a freak!
I was able to graduate college on time. That's what mattered.
Yeah,
there you go. I dropped out, so I can't say anything.
Dude, it's nothing to be ashamed of. College is dumb. I loved it because I enjoyed it, but I don't recommend it for anybody who like genuinely thinks that it's going to pay you back, because it's not.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, the problem was I wanted to do all the stuff I was actually interested in, and all of the classes that I did not care about. So chemistry was a bust. And
oh yeah, I could not do chemistry.
Some of the other stuff, and I was like, I told my parents, I was like, I'm gonna stop wasting your money now.
I went in for pre-vet, but did not end up in pre-vet.
Yeah, I went for pre-vet.
Yeah.
And then I
decided I didn't like cutting animals open. It really wasn't my favorite thing.
It's a thing. Yeah, I became an engineer because it turns out memorizing words is really hard, and I'm really good at math. So, engineering.
I became a philosopher.
I'm horrible at math.
Really? That's fucking awesome.
The way that played out, he's like, I'm horrible at math, and you're like, that's awesome. And that's just how I was
talking about the philosopher.
Yeah. Friend... I can get into some mean arguments, man. Like, I'll back you into a corner. Good fucking luck.
My buddy has a dual degree in history and sociology or something like that. And anyways, he did all this awesome stuff, and now he's he took a tech course at a local college for a year, and now he makes $200,000 a year as a refinery operator, doing absolutely nothing with his fucking degree.
Yep, I'm a secretary, and I breed snakes.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's fine, but I can read Plato and laugh at it, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty actually amazing. I do engineering, and now I have heart problems at 37, so it's whatever.
Yeah, I work at an engineering firm. Like, I am the secretary, so I kind of at least get the gist of the stress.
It's a lot of stress.
It is.
But you know what's stress lacking?
Not snakes, so I don't know where you're going with this conversation.
CornStars episode number 9.
CornStars episode 473, guys. Super excited. We've really made it the distance.
I put that on my page. I didn't know you were joking. I was like, man, they've gotten a lot of episodes out. That's good for them.
I mean, we have over 300 on the actual network itself, but as far as CornStars go, it's just 9.
Close enough. Whatever. It's a number.
But this episode is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. You need a cage, you need a rack. You need to find out where they're at, because they have some awesome stuff. Their racks are phenomenal. I'm finally got rid of that god-awful non-black box rack that I kept having stuff get out of. As of Sunday, I emptied it. But I don't know if I don't know if I said this Monday night on Snakes and Stogies or not. But as I was cleaning that rack out, because I was like, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I went to go. There was one drawer that had one of the Tessera babies in it, and it was missing. And I was like, of course, the day that I'm getting rid of this rack, and I'm ridding my life of it and fixing everything that's wrong with the universe right now, which is this rack, one more snake would be like, yeah, but you gotta beat the final boss first, and you gotta find this little 6-inch worm, which the door sweep does not stop those from getting out because they're so small. And it was kind of like a April Fool's thing, because then like the following that night I did find it, but it was like, thank you for the one last, like, of course,
Last little hoorah.
Yep.
So
nail in the coffin for that rack for sure.
So I talked to Jen. I was like, I need a rack ASAP. I don't care what color it is. I don't care what tubs you have for it. I need this thing gone, and I need to figure out how to get up there and get something. So
I have
at
needs.
some point, yeah. So everything right now that was in that rack is in its own tub. It's a little snugger for some than others, because there was that like that little Ultramel striped demon that you sent me, Chris.
Yeah.
She's in her own little tub now, and it's a smaller tub, but for now it'll do. But yeah, so I haven't had any issues with the BlackBox rack that I have. Like, no escapees from there. Kept a bunch of different size stuff in it. No problem. So if you're looking for a rack that is very escape resistant, I won't necessarily say escape proof, because there's always going to be outliers and things that happen. But life is much easier with BlackBox racks. And then the fine folks at Silent Hill Reptiles, JT and Mindy, got to give a shout out to them, who are also CornStars sponsors. They're doing some awesome stuff. Definitely check them out, Facebook and Instagram, silenthillreptiles.com. Stay in the loop with what they're doing. And then, as you can tell, this episode we are joined once again by Sarah Mohr of Sarah's Snake Shop.
Hello.
Are we still? I feel like I asked you this the first time, but are we saying Sarah Mohr or Sarah Mohr? Is it Straley? Is that the new last name?
Yeah. Either one. Like,
hyphenated
legally,
thing?
it's still just Sarah Mohr. We're not going to change it. We just do the more Straley thing because it's cute, to be honest.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to have you on again tonight, and hope to have you on many more times, because
that'd be awesome. Yeah, this is great.
Your words have been heard through YouTube, and of course what you've done, but getting more of that. We need more. We need long form.
I'm doing as much as I can right now, man. I tell you what.
I don't know how you keep up with all of it.
It's a lot.
What's the details in the history as far as like morphs and stuff go? Like, it's
wonderful.
It's a lot.
Yeah, we said it last episode. We've said it again on other episodes you weren't on. You're doing the Lord's work when it comes to this stuff, because literally nobody else is doing this. So
thank you.
Good. It's super exciting.
I appreciate that, because it's been a lot of work, and sometimes I'm like, am I doing this for no reason? I don't know anymore. But
it's such a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a passion project, obviously, because you're not getting paid for it.
Oh, no. I mean, technically my YouTube channel is monetized, but like I get pennies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I get $100 every like 3 to 6 months, that's it, Yeah. And, like, not. But yeah, like I mostly just do it because I love it, and most of the money that I get goes straight back into the channel. Like, I have some memberships now, and I recently started doing book reviews because there are hundreds of corn snake care guides out there, and like just so many corn snake books. And so I thought, well, I don't know of any, like, I don't know where to find information on whether or not this is a good book to buy, so I'll just make that myself. And so pretty much the first monetization check I got, I bought $100 worth of books, and that's what I've been reviewing and giving away on my channel. So that's fun.
Have you gotten any messages from people that were like, you reviewed my book and you didn't give it a good one? Like, what the hell?
No. I like the few people that I know who's like, I know the person who wrote the book, like, personally. One of them just like doesn't speak to me and doesn't have anything to do with me, and that's fine. And the other one's retired, and they just like aren't really in the community that much anymore. So and of course there's been other books, but I didn't personally know that person, and I haven't heard from anybody else at all. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And I guess, like, if anybody does come out of the woodwork, we can have a conversation. And I can teach them how to write better English.
English words are hard.
Fuck, dude, you are not wrong.
They are hard.
Words are the difficult. I am so bad at words.
What's new between the both of yous?
Well, survived Daytona. That was rad.
You did.
We'll do a little recap on what we saw and what we brought home a little bit later. But I beat COVID's ass shortly after my 1 hour of sleep over like 48 hours because my flight got canceled, and then I ended up in North Carolina.
Fiasco.
Yeah, fuck you, American Airlines.
I hear that more often than you would expect.
Yeah.
Flying sucks, period. Doesn't matter who it's with, man.
I was in North Carolina, Justin. I didn't even know what
You
to
were in
do with
Charlotte.
myself. I was in Charlotte.
That's
yeah.
the worst airport too. Charlotte,
Yeah.
Charlotte International or whatever it's called is just it's god awful.
Well, it gave me COVID and a very bad plane ride over a tropical depression. But I got past COVID. It did for everybody out there that hasn't had it. It does suck. The whole
I haven't
time.
had it, thankfully. Hope I don't get it.
Dude, the fever for days, and then like going into like borderline hallucinate words, and so yeah. But the brain fog was super bad. But kind of once it left, it was good. Doctor had a big checkup today because my dumb little heart doesn't like me, and everything is good post COVID. So we're moving forward full speed.
Do you lose your taste and smell at all?
I did not lose my taste, didn't lose my smell, never coughed, never had coughing or really too much congestion.
See, that was the complete opposite for me. That's all I had was I couldn't breathe, and then I couldn't taste anything for like a month.
Yeah, I had like 103-degree fever for 2 days. It was fucking terrible. But yeah, that was. Anyways, Sarah, what's new with you?
New. In the snake world, not a whole lot. Things kind of stay the same. I'm just doing the YouTube channel, occasionally doing live stuff now. Mostly like Q&As and stuff, but personal life, I just celebrated my 1-year wedding anniversary, so that was nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We made it a year. We're hoping that we make it more than one. That would be great. I don't know. I don't know what's new. I guess one thing that's new, this is pretty notable, is I got a snake from BMS a couple months ago.
Nice.
Who is supposed to be, genetically speaking, like a coral ghost. But he has like a yellow ground color. And I have never seen anything like him in my life. And of course, VMS, they're not, like, Sean's not the best communicator. But he did give me as much detail as he had on these snakes and sent me pictures of the parents and the grandparents and information on where the grandparents came from. And pretty much my hypothesis is that I don't think that tesseras are pure, but so going off of that, I think tesseras I'm sorry. But both of his parents were tesseras, and he has a yellow ground color. And it looks very much like
Cow King coming
banana,
through.
Yeah, that banana yellow coming in, potentially. And he's definitely like a coral anery for sure. Like I can see it in the face that's what he is. But the ground color is weird, and so I'm very excited about I'm hoping that he is the start of my own sort of coral project that looks a little bit different than other corals. Like I don't typically care about coral, but he just struck me he's so unique that
that's awesome.
If it doesn't pass on, he's still a gorgeous snake. He's mean. He's the worst corn snake I've ever had in my life.
That's the king snake blood.
Yeah, I was about to say cow kings will do that.
No.
That's true. And he will musk everywhere. He will wait by the edge of the container when I feed him. And as soon as I open it up, he just darts out.
I've got two like that. Can't trust him.
If I try to grab him, he poops all over me and bites me, and he's just the worst, but he's real pretty. So he's going to get a lot of ladies.
He has looks, but he has no personality.
Nice.
He's just kind of a Chad.
Oh, my man. That's I have a snow. One of these days I'll have to actually take pictures of her that I produced a couple years ago that I held back because she was like kind of yellow out of the egg, which you don't see a lot of yellow. And she has the most yellow on a 2-year-old snake I've ever seen. It's like the whole side of her body is yellow, and she has kind of that green tint in the saddle borders, that kind of green blotch, but it's not that.
It's halo.
Yeah, the halo thing, and it's kind of neat because I don't have anything of that in my collection, and so she stayed, and then I kept a snow from the next year, and then a snow from the next year because that's what you
Nice.
do when
Then
you hatch out something cool. You keep all of them.
you keep them all.
I'll do a quick Daytona recap
Sure.
and maybe talk a little bit about the corn snake love that was there. First off, massive show, beautiful. Justice talked about it on a couple different shows already. The thing that absolutely blew my mind was the amount of corn snakes there. Just table after table after table, thousands of corn snakes. There's
Wow.
you have Howie Sherman, Craig Trumbauer, Tony D, Lee Abbott, tons of other breeders. My brain is literally slipping me. There's so many big names. Palm Beach Colubrids, MBK Reptiles, right? Justin, what's the other? Yeah, and who was
Fire Horse Exotics?
Fire Horse. I mean, tons of corn snakes. I saw albinos. I may be wrong. And the gentleman introduced himself to me, and he was so sweet. And I still have a little bit of COVID brain, so I'm not remembering names and stuff well. But he had scaleless palmettos, and I could have sworn he had the world's first albino scaleless palmetto, which, though not maybe the cup of tea for everybody, was a really neat thing to see somebody went through the trouble to get all of that together.
Which I guess missed that one.
Yeah, and he's a fan of the show. He listens. Please reach out to me. I COVID really wiped my brain out bad. But I would love to have you on because he had so many amazing scaleless combos, palmetto combos, scaleless palmettos. Which
it's depressing.
That's why I wanted to talk to him because the amount of work you have to put in to have such good looking animals. Nothing had bug eye. Everything looked extremely healthy.
Like that aspect is cool. Like the fact that like someone put work into doing that. But as far as like
he put in a lot of work
and palmetto and like het stuff. It was super frustrating that a lot of tables you couldn't see something you really liked that wasn't het for either of those.
There was a lot of het palmetto, a lot of het scaleless stuff.
I don't want any of that.
I don't know. It was really neat to see somebody that was almost exclusively dedicated to those combinations and morph combinations of those animals. And he also had geckos, which like one step above, right? Like we took one a little bit more steps closer to the sun, right? It was good. But yeah, getting to rub shoulders with some of these older guys, I tried to introduce myself to all of them like I matter. Go in with confidence, right? Lots of drinking was happening. There's beer right at the show. I got to see combinations, some of the stuff that Lee Abbott's cooked up. Justin, the Okidee mandarins. So the Castagna albino Okidis that he's line bred to where they have that kind of thick reverse Okidee look in a mandarin was gorgeous.
Well, what was the what do you call basically the American line of Castagna stuff? What was the name of that?
Oh yeah, oh my brain. Give it to me, Daddy. Get that word out.
I think it was some sort of wood.
Topaz?
No.
I mean, there's flamingo,
mahogany.
but that's
mahogany.
Mahogany. Well, mahogany's like a Castagna variant, but I don't know if I'd say it's like a.
It's the same
English
gene,
version.
Right? I thought it was same gene.
It's like a line of the same gene, yeah. So like you know how Sunkist has popped up in multiple different places, and Anery has popped up in multiple different places. Like Castagna just sort of popped up in different places, and they didn't know if it was the same thing. So we have like copper, mahogany, Java, like all that. Those are all probably the same thing. They're all just Castagna variants that branched off from like different wild versions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's okay. That makes more sense. But yeah, these were. He called them albino mahogany Okidees, and they
might have just been the mahogany line. Yeah.
Yeah, they were badass. They were real neat. But it was cool. A lot of stuff like that. A lot of these really neat kind of special projects, and you could see the passion people had. I brought home some Red Zeppelin stuff from Mr. Trumbauer and a few other odds and ends. Some locality Getula. I got leopard rat snakes. Which immediately meant that I had to come home and buy ladder rat snakes, which is the only way it works with me getting a new species. And I got Dion's from Mr. Smith here.
Nice.
I can't remember. There were other things in that bag. Oh, I got some Jani, a Jani female, because I'm just trying to stack the world with more Pituophis Jani because it's the best snake on the planet. There was more. Oh, a real pretty melanistic Leonis, and there was
There's a lot of Peri.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
I got other stuff too. I don't remember. I spent a bunch of money. It was great, and then I came home and I bought more because I was like, hey, now that I have Zemenis in my collection, I have to have all the Zemenis I could find over a 3-week period. So I got my ladder rat snakes in the mail today, and they're cute little buggers, and they hiss like Pituophis, and they look like Pituophis, and they'll fit right close, tight with my Pituophis. But that's I think it's Daytona in a bag. If you're a colubrid person, if you're a corn snake person, if you just want to rub shoulders and see these human beings, Daytona is just amazing because it's kind of like it's relaxing. It's huge.
There was more corns last year. Imagine that.
Really? Wow.
I think so. Yeah, because Weisler's table was it was a giant like horseshoe on the end of one of the aisles, and it was like probably easily 80% of it was corns.
Yeah.
And then this year he only had a little bit.
Corns, yeah.
Because I was looking for that candy cane. He only had the one.
There was the things I didn't see. I did not see a single terrazzo, which is something I was keeping my eyes out for. I just don't think I saw one. Could have been that I missed it. You see a ton of reverse Okady stuff. You see a ton of snow stuff, a ton of coral snow stuff, all the hot stuff, right? The stuff that people buy, stuff people love. I saw only a handful of charcoal animals, no charcoal combinations, because I would have loved to have found another pewter or hypopewter to mix in the group. Pearl, is Pearl the combo of pewter and lavender? Yeah, I think so. I was looking for. I saw almost no lavender animals.
Yeah,
that was kind of surprising. I thought I'd see at least some on some people's tables. Very few lavender combinations. Honey, caramel stuff, tons of that. And you know what? It was moving. That's the cool thing about it is these animals were moving off the tables. People were buying them. So that's always very good to see.
Yeah.
With some of your kind of more off the beaten path stuff, your charcoal stuff, your obviously terrazzo is just kind of like non-existent in the hobby. It feels like, and that's we'll hopefully get to those on an episode. Now, no blood red stuff. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Blood red is so popular.
Somebody mentioned recently, and I kind of heard it like third person-ish, that there was a sort of somewhat famous like reptile YouTube channel that was talking about how blood reds were poor feeders, and that just caused the like crash, the market to just like tank in the blood red area. And that kind of like started early in the season, and like everybody that I knew who was trying to sell blood reds couldn't sell them. And so I specifically said in one of my more recent videos where I mentioned blood red, I'm like, that isn't true. It's been bred out of them.
I will say, wasn't that like an original blood red thing, like with like early iterations of that?
Yeah, but like it was bred out of them by like the mid 90s.
Yeah, I'm 3 seasons into producing blood reds, and all mine eat usually like days after they shed first
would have had that damn blood red pied pair go.
Yeah, those are cool. But so it was kind of interesting to see that. Just as a hobbyist, there was a lot of the same, which I don't know if that's a bad thing, because you could kind of see the different work people have put in. Maybe some people had more Aztec-y looking stuff. People had heavier saddle stuff. People had more saturated base color stuff. Not a ton of adult corn snakes, which I'm not completely against.
There usually isn't, though. Like last year, like Weisler had a good bit of adult stuff, but I want to say a lot of it was mostly sort of displayed stuff to show people what some of the scaleless stuff would look like as it got older. And then, I mean, that's one of the reasons I bought the candy cane tester I have, is because he had an adult there, and I was like, oh my god, like 2 of my favorite things in one, I gotta have it. So
Tony D. And I feel like I need to reach out to him to buy these snakes, because I should have bought them at the show. He had a pair of Sunkissed, and one of them was buff.
Dude.
And oh my god.
And what was those ultras he had?
Oh, he had a high white ultramels.
Oh my god.
So there was like Miami ultramels. Oh my god. They were, and then he had buff ultramels.
Like candy sticks or something.
Yeah.
Candy cane ultramels, yeah.
And it's funny, he had buff Ultramels and Buff's sun-kissed Ultramels, I want to say. And he said it's kind of funny. You almost lose the Buff in the Ultramel, so he likes it not in Ultramel. But oh my god, his snakes are like perfect.
And his like that's what we mentioned. I think when we did the recap episode, you were there. You weren't sick, so you were there, or you weren't there because you were sick.
I'm back. Oh, go ahead.
But like him and Trumbauer and like I noticed a lot of the older guys that had just some of the best corns at the show.
Yeah.
Also had them at prices that were completely reasonable. Like they weren't trying to like go to the highest bidder or anything like that. And like I don't know, especially with the Tony D stuff, you know, it was like, why are you not selling this for more? I mean, sure he could have, but still, it was like the fact that it's like, see, these are some of the nicest corns in this entire building, and they're also probably some of the most inexpensive. Like just wild, just crazy.
That was really neat to see, and all of those older guys, Howie Sherman, Craig Trumbauer, and Tony D, all kind of hang out with each other at the show, and it's so funny when you walk up to the table, they're looking
in
at
that
the
same
phone,
spot
they're not
every
sitting
year.
down. Yeah, the second they see you, they're just like, "Hey, what's up? How are you doing? Come look at these snakes. They're beautiful. They're awesome." And it's really, really, that was nice to see. I don't know if the veil falls and behind closed doors they have a different attitude, because we find that that's true about some people. But
they seem pretty.
They seem pretty genuine. They seem pretty amazing. Yeah, I should have bought those Sunkissed. That pair. They were like almost adults too. Like they possibly could have bred next year, and I didn't buy them.
Oh yeah, see, he had those. I was looking at the two hatchling, the two neonates.
The babies, yeah.
Like those, I was like, "What am?"
Dude, those adults are badass.
Yeah.
The buff Sunkissed, and they're like Okies, but it's like a buff Sunkissed. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. So good looking. Such a good looking.
Buff
snake.
is one of those things, man. The more I see it, the more I'm tempted to play with it and plug it into other stuff, and you know.
Well, you have like, buff, so now you have to.
Yeah.
Try lavender. Right. See what happens.
But
just see what happens.
Do it. There's no lavender in the hobby. There's just not enough.
I don't breed them just because of the kinking potential. I had the only line of lavenders I've ever bred. Just everything was always kinked, and so I just let it go.
Yeah,
which is it's not every line, and I know it's not, but the lines I've had. Well, I had one line, but then it kind of was like cousins, and then it was sort of two lines. But regardless, yeah, they all ended up having issues, and I just stopped.
That sucks. And that may be, you know, why people just draw away from them is because they know that, you know, Sunkissed many years ago, people didn't like because it had the stargazing issue. But I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was way back in the beginning.
Yeah. But that kind of, that mythos of them kind of floated even into when I started getting back into corns, you know, 7-10 years ago. And but yeah, so Daytona, Sarah, you have to go. Kid. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
way back in the early 2000s, I remember hearing talks of
the sun gazer and lavender kinking and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I was telling Sarah she has to go. You gotta go. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's the best.
I will. I might consider it. So like, I'm gonna try to. My husband and I are trying to see every state, and so we might just put Daytona on the like date, like get the date, and then just plan a vacation around it where we just travel, which is a perfectly viable option for us.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's awesome.
That would be, and it would be super fun. And of course, I like snakes. He doesn't really like snakes that much. He's kind of like you can bring them downstairs and like hold them in the same room that I'm in, but I don't want to like know that they're there kind of thing. I'm like, well, okay.
Well, there are a lot of snakes at Daytona, and it's cool. I don't know if this is good or bad. This is my first Daytona experience. They had it split into 2 rooms.
Nice.
Which some people didn't like, and there was some questions about how they opened the rooms and stuff. And as arguably one of the more hungover and then one of the more drunk people there, I was just like, "Yay, 2 rooms with snakes! This is best!"
Yeah,
yeah. So I enjoyed just having more room to spread. And whenever I felt like the big room was too full and too many people, I went to the little room. And when I felt like the little room was getting packed, I went to the big room, and so it was cool. All right, well, yeah, that's Daytona. Everybody go or don't. That's you know, it's up to y'all. It's super fun. They're snakes. But yeah, Justin, why don't we smart with you? You know, words are tough. A little season recap. You know, where'd you end up? Are you happy with the results?
I am. I was actually thinking about that on my way home from work. I had 100% hatch rate on everything.
Woo!
Well, wait,
Nice.
no, that's not true. I had that
Loma
one
Alta
Baird's
Bears?
clutch. No, the Loma Altas all went, but it was that head hypo clutch where pretty much the entire clutch minus one went the distance, and then one of the final two in that went really long term, but still just never fully developed. So I don't know what happened there, but other than that, on the corn front, I had 100% hatch rate and everything. So
That's
it was
awesome.
Nice.
only sort of real hurdle was the blood red female and that whole debacle with the egg binding and the slowly releasing of the slugs. And
That's so like that makes me nervous every single time it happens. It hasn't happened to me very often, but every time a girl like is slowly just putting out one egg a day or something, it
yeah.
just actually, you know what? I did have one female who had never been exposed to a male 2-year-old do that this year. I went
Oh
in and there
crap!
was like one infertile egg. I noticed she was really cranky for no good reason, but I was like, well, whatever. And I went in and there's like one slug egg just chilling. I'm like, oh, okay, she passed an egg. And then the next couple days there was another one. And then there was just like one more every day for a week. And I was like, girl, you were about to give me a heart attack. Please stop laying all
Yep.
these slug eggs.
Mine was dropping a slug once a week.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, I'd get out the needle to aspirate or something, and I'd come in and she'd drop one. I'm like, okay. And then I'd go the next week to do it again, drop another one. All right. So I never had to.
That's good.
It seems like she's passed them all. I haven't noticed any serious issues. She's in the shed right now, so I really don't know if I'm going to try her again next season or if I'm just going to give her a whole year off or what. I think if I do pair, I'm definitely going to put more effort into making sure she's a little more beefed up and well fed and stuff, and has the right nutrition and stuff going on before I do that. But we'll see. I don't.
What how many clutches of Lady Islands did you produce this year?
F1's just the one.
Just the one.
There was that, and then there was the pairing to that ghost Tessera girl.
Some of those, Sarah, I don't know if you've seen pictures of them, but some of the Tesseras that produced out of a wild caught male to a ghost Tessera female are real interesting. They don't not very typical Tessera.
I haven't really posted any of them, so I don't know. I was too busy trying to find them because they kept getting out. Do
you have a picture we could pull up while we're talking about it?
Let me see.
Yeah, that would be great.
They're really interesting. They're very broken Tessera patterns.
It was the two nicest ones that got out too.
Of course.
Is that one of the ones I have?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thanks for not sending me.
Well, I was gonna send you one of the ones that I was gonna send you was the last one to escape, and I think it had been missing for like a week, and I had sent you your stuff, and I was just
the female that I have has you could tell the black is going to be just killer down the back stripe, but they're atypical Tesseras, I would say. Having produced a lot of Tesseras, not even, I say a lot, I don't know, maybe 100 over the last 3 years.
I mean, that's more than me, so
I have an idea of what I'm expecting from a Tessera to a non-Tessera, what that Tessera is going to look like. And these are, I don't know, they're a little atypical. They have a lot of breaking in the stripe on the back. I don't know if that's, but yeah, Justin will pull it up. They're really cool. But while he's looking for it, Sarah, what about a little season recap from you? I know you produced a bunch of snakes.
I produced so many aneries that I don't know what to do with them. That's the main thing. I don't like, so secret about me. I really don't like just regular anery corn snakes that much. I think that they're really cool when they're mixed with other things. I think they're really cool when they have like high yellows or whatever. But so I was doing a lot of test breeding this year, and I had a couple of new females, and the females I knew had either were het anery or visual anery. So I, of course, was like, well, I'll just breed them to either a snow male or an anery motley or whatever. And so I ended up with so many aneries.
Oh, wow.
So many. I can't. And then one, a mutual friend, a friend of a friend of mine, she housed together what she thought was two males. And of course they were a male and a female. When she was cleaning out her cage, she found almost 2 dozen eggs in a pile.
Holy
And
crap.
she knew about me, and she lives in the same town that I do. So she contacted me and she's like, can I just give them to you? I don't want them to die. And of those, it was about 21 eggs, I think, was the total. 14 of them ended up being good. And
Nice.
all but 4 of them were aneries. The parents were a normal and a ghost. And I got 4 normals and 10 aneries. And then 2 days after those got done hatching, she calls and her female had double clutched. So then she brought me another clutch of eggs, which are still incubating, but I expect similar results probably. That's probably one of the more interesting things that happened this year. I did breed my female possible het golden to her son this year to see if anything would come out, because breeding her to her brother, who was also possible het golden, they just were not producing goldens. I've bred them 3 or 4 years in a row. The
Yeah.
first year that I bred her, I swear on my life, she gave me at least 2 goldens. But one of them had, have you heard of hard belly?
I have. Yes. It's
Where that
Go
the
ahead.
yolk calcifies. He ended up getting that and he died from it. And then the other one was eating okay, doing okay, and then escaped for like a week. And then when I got him back, he just would not eat again and he starved himself to death. And I don't know what
Damn.
happened while he was out. But either way, so I just kept trying her with her brother again and again, and nothing. So this year I decided to try with a son that I had held back, and we might have gotten 2 goldens. We
That's
definitely
awesome.
got we definitely got caramels though. So the problem with my lane is they're all het caramel. Here, we'll take a break. Hold on, let me look at your tessera. That is really neat.
Right? It's
Haven't
really
ever seen anything quite like that. Do you have a belly photo?
No, I don't. I can get one though.
Isn't that funky?
It's pretty funky,
That's
yeah.
one of the other ones.
That one's a little
So
more
that's-
That
typical.
might have been the one.
Yeah,
that
a
went,
little bit more typical.
that one might have went to you, Chris. I can't remember.
Yeah, it has a bunch of breaking in the stripe around its tail. I think that is the female.
That was Dad. That was Mom.
Mama Absinthe. I love that snake.
It's a very
And
pretty
then that's
snake.
two of the F1s that are going to JT at some point here soon. This one I told him he was getting like 2 of the nicest ones of the clutch. Like this one has a lot more saddles and they're smaller.
Yeah, I can see that.
Than,
They're kind of
some of
bunched
the
up.
other ones. It's really, really strange.
Yeah.
So those are 2 F1s that they're getting better and better with each shed. But
Go back to Mom. See, the thing that I like is Mom is a very just pretty ghost tessera, right? Like she's extremely typical ghost tessera.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's almost kind of dark too. She almost looks anary, but she's definitely proven hypo. But go back to that first one, Justin. Isn't that neat?
That is really strange.
Yeah.
I mean, we see some of that when mask and tessera are mixed. When mask and tessera are mixed together, you get a lot of that busy, broken pattern, but that does not seem to be mask at all.
And that was something I meant to ask you about that, because I did notice some other tesseras that had mask in it recently had that just sort of chaotic sort of tessera thing going on. So I wasn't sure if maybe there was just something I was missing. But
mask does such weird stuff, but Mom has never had any signs of mask, because I know mask can be extremely low expression. And then
and Dad doesn't look mask either, and the baby frankly doesn't look masky in the head at all.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like the head is the normal part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad shouldn't be, because Dad's wild caught. So
yeah, Dad is an interesting snake. He's got a lot of yellow in the ground color. I like him.
And that ghost actually,
he's the darker one of the 2.
Picture. That's a pretty snake, man.
Yeah.
That female there does have a lot of yellow on her cheeks, through her head, and down her sides. So yeah, I'm excited to see that baby grow up, and then hopefully go back to Dad or something. You know what I mean? Or it's female, right, Justin?
Which one?
The baby, the kind of real.
Yeah, because there was only out of that clutch there was 5 tesseras. I kept all of them, and only I think one of those was actually a male. So I believe that one is a female.
What I think will be neat is if that is female, putting it back to Dad in a couple years, and seeing what happens then, because now you're breeding out the morphs, right? And you're breeding closer to the wild caught population to see. But Tessera's still going to be there, you know. half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see this in a Tessera. That was kind of the whole point of doing that pairing, was to see like the Ladies Island phenotype in a Tessera form. It's kind of
I think that's pretty neat. And I don't think that boy of yours is really going to do anything interesting with the anery or the hypo. Right? It's going to be the pattern and the current base color of it that I think is going to be really neat. So, anyways, yeah, that's a fun little project we've got going between the two of us. And now I have a unrelated F1 and a female Tessera from that clutch. So they're
okay.
The Tessera obviously doesn't get to be called an F1 really, because it's it's an F12 to a wild caught. But breeding those together, let's see. In the end, we're making pretty snakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's cool. So you were saying
all about
3 potential.
Yeah, so two potential Goldens, but the problem is, like, I do have caramel in these lines as well, so I'm holding everything that is somewhat yellow back. Like, one of them, too. So I had a weird issue with this clutch, and it could be because there was at least one set of twins, maybe 2. Like, I had way more snakes than I had eggshells, but I wasn't there when they hatched. But a few of them hatched out with no tail at all. Like, the vent wasn't even there. There was enough of a vent that like some urates could pass, but like I ended up having to euthanize them, even though like a couple of them were eating, but they couldn't poop. So
yeah, that's really interesting.
But like they were ones that kind of came out of twin eggs, I think. I'm hoping that that's all it was, and it's not some sort of weird genetic trait. I'm not really sure. However, one of those I know for sure was caramel, and one of them I believe was golden, but it's gone now. And I had another one that was healthy, who's just regular normal caramel. I know he's a caramel. And then there's 2 others that are looking kind of weird. One of them is very like caramels have that like yellow tone to them as a baby.
Yes.
Like this one just doesn't have any of that, but it's not an anery either. And that's kind of what a golden is supposed to look like. And that's my male. And then I have a female that also has a little bit of that look, but plus a little bit of extra yellow. So I'm holding all of those back to compare when they get older. Another problem is though I have like this yellow jacket going on in this line. So what I could be seeing is just caramel with and without yellow jacket. I don't know. So I'm not like formally
true,
saying
because
that
yellow jacket's another funky one that kind of is an enhancer.
Yeah. So I'm not coming out and being like, yes, I have Goldens, because I'm not 100% sure. But
I was watching a recent video where you were talking about the yellow jacket thing too, and that was something I kind of wanted to bring up tonight if we had at least a little bit of time to talk about it. But you kind of mentioned that there's sort of the jury still out on if it's like a legitimate thing or not.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. It is. But the question is it the same or different from something we already have? So, like, is it the same as Buff? I don't know. Is it the same as Toffee? I don't know. I don't even know if Buff and Toffee are the same or different. And there's been some discussion recently whether yellow jacket, yellow factor, or whatever just came over from Ultra, because around the same time that these like high yellow snakes were coming into the hobby, Ultra had just gotten mixed in with some caramel lines, and like everything started with Rich Z. And so and yes, like every caramel, Buff, Toffee, and Yellow Jacket all came out of Rich Z caramels. But some of those caramels were also mixed with Ultra, so it could be the hybrid influence that brought over a dominant trait. I don't know. But it's something. It's definitely there, and it definitely is at least dominant, maybe, or yeah, I want to say it's at least dominant, maybe incomplete dominant. I'm not sure if there's really that much of a different phenotype between the homozygous and heterozygous version.
That's awesome. I love these little oddities that kind of, if it wasn't somebody like you talking about them and pointing these things out, they get lost in the sauce, People pass these things up constantly, and they're so focused on getting more red into that coral snow, which is not a bad thing. Keep doing it.
Right.
Or the things that are insanely visual, like we said earlier, the scaleless palmetto kind of stuff. We forget about these little nuances in this hobby that people spent a lot of their life digging up, and maybe lost the passion for that project, but they're still there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we find out over these years what's going on, and and get to
Same.
making some more awesome snakes, because that's what
Same.
you're gonna get.
Yeah. And I mean, I also the Halo was officially proven this year. I officially proved it a while ago, but a couple of other people kind of came out of the woodwork and kind of confirmed the same thing that I've been saying for the last few years. And so that has now been officially put up on Ian's vivarium as Halo being heterozygous and Green Blotch being the homozygous version of this gene
Oh, okay,
mutation,
yeah.
which I've been working on that since my very first clutch of corns. My first clutch of corns hatched my very first Halo snow corn snake. And he was the one that I ended up keeping. And I bred him to everything, and I found other ones that looked like him and bred them to everything, and then tested everything. So it's been over a decade in the making, but we finally got it like proven and sort of officialized by Ian's vivarium, which has been really cool.
That's awesome. That's that's very great news. Yeah.
And that's like another one of those very subtle morphs that people don't normally see until after the snake is a few months old and they've already sold the snake and they go, why did I sell that pretty snake? You know?
And that's also one of those ones that in a classic non-anary or snow, you don't see anything, right?
Right. Yeah, it has to be amelanistic to see it. You can't see. The melanin just sort of covers it up.
Yeah, it's like some of the weird things we're finding in scaleless animals that you do or do not see. Predominantly do not see, especially in lavender.
Yeah, lavender is a good example of that.
Like literally a lavender scaleless is just a scaleless normal.
Just like a hypo. Classic. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
it's interesting.
The end of my season, I was done with my season. I had about 130 babies hatched out this year. And then I remembered the Everglades rats that were still in the incubator. So I have 8 beautiful little Everglades rats that have hatched out and now shed. And we'll start doing a little feeding on. They're Hendry County animals. The parents are just gorgeous, pure pumpkin orange. I'm not dropping. Yeah, I think Justin's going to drop.
You're dropping a little bit, Justin. Just a bit. At least from my point of view.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to drop. You're the only one here who's not allowed.
We're losing Justin.
Dude, we're good? Been struggling lately. Yeah, we're good.
But corn snake wise, I produced a few things that I was really excited about. I got a Ultramel anary stripe hypos.
Nice.
So a Ultramel ghost stripes. And I sent one to Justin. I kept one. And John Lassiter has one. So they're awesome. They're really, really neat looking. I did get one Ultramel Ghost non-stripe, which is going to be het stripe. I got an Ultramel anary, what I'm guessing is red coat, which would be from a JMG Coral Ghost to het stripe to a Tessera Ultramel Motley stripe. So we're going to be talking about the Motley stripe and how fun those genes are. Later.
Super fun.
But he is a Motley stripe. So he is Motley het stripe because he produces stripes.
Mm-hmm. But he's visually Motley.
Well, he's a Tessera, so it doesn't matter. So we'll get to that too, because that's another fun thing that's super neat. But so in the JMG, the coral bled over into this young man. So I have an Ultramel anary stripe. What I'm guessing is red coat. I believe that's right, Sarah?
Red coat is the one that makes anaries like more black, and then coral makes things more pink, or like red.
Coral, red factor. Sorry, red factor. There you go.
I would just use that. The way I remember it is, even though you put a coat on, your skin doesn't change color. So just because you put on a red coat, that doesn't mean that your skin changes.
Okay.
That's the way that I remember it. That doesn't mean everybody else is going to make sense of it. But
coat made from other people's skin.
I call it IRG, increased red genes, because it's funny how it line breeds and then you can keep stacking it.
Yeah, pretty much.
More red. It works like a line bred trait.
Layer every generation.
But he has some pink on the sides. I also got an Ultramel stripe with that same red factor, which is really neat. And then 3rd year in a row trying to make pewters. And not only did I get a pewter, I got 2 Tessera pewters, which was so exciting in one clutch, because this girl's gone for me 3 years in a row, and I never got my pewter because she's old school blood red pied het charcoal to a charcoal het diffuse Tessera, and so this year I got to stack all my genetics up, and had that clutch came out killer, and I got probably the best looking classic corn snake I've ever produced, and I kept her back. I wish I had a picture of her. She's amazing. Sent a lot of that stuff to Smitty and some stuff up to Puget Sound Pythons. The pewters are so charcoal's got to be one of my favorite genes. I don't know why.
I was gonna say, is it sad that the pewter is probably the most thing I'm excited about with what you sent?
No, that's the pewter tesseras that I produced. One of
I
them's
love
going to my friend.
pewters. I don't know what it is. I love.
Yeah.
They're nice.
I effing love
They're-
pewters.
Yeah, they're really, really neat. And they go through so charcoals don't really go through like an ontogenic change, right? Charcoals kind of hatch and look the exact same as adults.
Kind of. Yeah, I
If-
mean, yeah, like some of them might get like a little lighter. Like I've
Yeah.
noticed, especially like if there's mask, then they kind of get a little bit lighter in color.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the most part, like if you just have a charcoal, it just kind of always looks the same.
And sometimes you'll get a little bit of yellow blushing in the
Yeah,
cheeks,
just
but
like a
it's
little
so
tiny
rare.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Gray, my male, he has no yellow at all, which is I really like actually.
Yeah.
Well, then you add in the diffused, and it takes charcoal and it gives it like this hypo kind of washed out speckling.
Mhm.
It does this really neat thing, and it's funny as babies, they don't really look nearly as spectacular as they are going to be as adults. But isn't that the case with blood reds, right? Like blood red babies usually don't look that unique compared to the adults. So yeah, just another thing to be excited about. Got a lot of alternate on the ground. Black Pines came out, 8 got shipped out. Northern Pines 8 got shipped out to all their respective homes.
Nice.
Yeah, just super smooth season. I have some non-feeders, and they were the expected non-feeders. I've got a couple corns that I kept that I had wanted to keep, but also are not just happiest about eating, and I don't know why. And that's okay.
They're not the happiest about eating.
They want to eat. It's just they don't want to eat what I want to feed them. It seems like so. I got the diffused so out of my caramel Miamis that I paired up from Silent Hill. They did prove out both are het for Cinder.
Boy, those things
Sun-kissed.
are fine too, because I got some of
Those are
babies as
badass.
well, and oh my god, dude! Those first sheds when they came in and I got them and they had those first
Yeah.
sheds, I was like, these are nice. And then they shed and I was like, oh my god, like where did that come
it's
from?
just
Like holy
all the
crap.
blushing starts popping out. I got one honey that died right when it hatched. Like it
Aw.
hatched and died. I got
Yeah.
one diffused that I kept, and he's still here. He's a piece of shit. And then I got one cinder that I sent to you. So out of 14 eggs, I proved out the hets for all 3 of those genes, but I only got one of each, and I got no combos. So that's I've always had weird luck. Like I'll have a whole
It do be
bunch
like
of
that.
albinos from an albino to a het, and I'll get all albinos in my San Diego Gophers. And then I'll have my corn snakes where I'm like, these are triple het to triple het, and I'll get out of 14
You
eggs
get none
one
of it.
visual of each
Yeah.
gene.
Yeah.
And that's kind of okay because now I have a caramel Miami that's diffused, which I don't know what that looks like as an adult. And out of Walter Smith's stuff and going to JT, I don't think anybody has just a diffused caramel Miami lineage or Miami phase. So
Yeah, the ones that I know of from Walter Smith, I think look Miami because of the cinder het potentially.
I believe that's what is going on.
I
with these two.
don't think that his are like line bred Miami types. Like I don't think that I think it's just the cinder het that does it.
Yeah, and I think some of what with what Silent Hill, what JT's refining is getting down into the okay. Well, I know these are not het cinder because they're not producing cinders, but
Yeah.
now we're producing extremely Miami phase looking stuff. So my honey from them, she'll be going next year, and she is a striking animal. So I have a whole wall of stuff from JT, but I have a whole wall of stuff from a lot of people. So it's anyway. So yeah, this year was spectacular. It was so much fun. A lot of ups and downs. I didn't communicate with a lot of the people I normally communicate with because it was just kind of being busy. Work was really tough, but bred a lot of species a ton of species I've never bred.
Nice.
And then the species that I have bred that I love, I produce things I've never produced that I've been wanting to for years. So that was really, really, really cool, especially getting the stripe. I want Ultramo Anery stripes are really, really badass. They're really cool. Lots of Anery stripes. I think there might have been a ghost stripe floating around there. I love stripe stuff, right? So stripe, and I love how variable stripe is, and I think probably that's the next thing we're going to talk about. But I do want to ask both of y'all, Sarah, did you have a favorite snake that you produced this year?
Jeez, there's so many. I mean, I always love when I hatch out some Halo Snows. And I hatched out this one male from a pair that I've bred a few years in a row. They're a sibling pair. They're a green blotched and a halo, so I know that all their babies are either going to be green blotched or halos. And I don't like breeding siblings, but this pair always gives me like really funky patterned babies. And this year they gave me one male that's almost a perfect wide stripe halo snow. And he doesn't like the wide stripe kind of ends like sort of near the tail a bit, so he's not perfect. But I always considered starting a wide stripe project, and I just thought, well, when the opportunity comes along, and it's come along, it's here, it hatched
it's
this
knocking
year.
on the door.
It is right here. And so I think I'm going to keep him. And I also hatched a ton of like really cool Aztec aneries from another, like an unrelated line that, again, I have no idea why they hatched all, like why they make all these weird Aztec looking things.
Yeah.
But I thought like be a good pair to keep. I can't keep that many right now.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem is like I'm kind of in this weird spot in my hobby journey where I have a lot of time that needs to be put in, but not a lot of time to put in because I have an additional full-time job. So the question is, do I go down to like part-time in my official job to nurture the snake stuff more and the YouTube and everything else? Or do I just sort of keep the collection small? And I'm really struggling with that because I want to keep them all. I want to keep them all and I want to breed them all. But
that is a very, very difficult.
It is. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not like there yet, like where I have to make this decision, but it's like inching closer every year. And this year I bought a king snake. He's a little desert king snake. And he's high yellow and I love him to death. His name is Dexter. And he's like I love corn snakes and I hate king snakes, but I had a desert king years and years ago who was just the best pet. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't remember. It's been years, but I thought I want another desert king as a pet and kind of as a garbage disposal a little bit.
They're good at that.
You get those. And so I got my little Dexter, and he is just the most adorable little thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think all snakes are cute, especially when they're babies, but there's just something about like the black head with those little beady black eyes, and they have just like the most insane cute little personalities. I don't know. I think they're so cute.
Splendida are my local Getula here in Corpus, and they are, of all the Getula, the most composed. They're like the least. Not all Getula are crazy psychopaths, right? They're not as bad as Florida's.
Most of them are.
Or the going eyes or the men's eyes. But of the Getula, I have noticed the Eastern Black Kings and the Splendida and the whole Brook Eye that kind of right down the middle of the country are really the most composed. And I love me a good Splendida. It's a damn good animal.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. And like I hate California Kings.
Don't hate them. Don't hate them.
I can't. I've tried so hard. I've tried probably half a dozen times to like them. You know, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get a pair and I'm going to raise them and I'm going to, you know, like have this connection with them. Nope, hate them. I just hate that. I can't. I just can't. And sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy a breeding pair of adults that like I don't really have to worry about. And they could just be garbage disposals and I'll just breed them and that's cool. Hate them. Can't stand to be around them. Their musk smells worse than corn snake musk and they musk a lot and they want to eat me instead of anything else that they should eat and I just can't. I don't know. Sorry. But the Splendida, he's so cute and I love him to death. And so he's not one that I hatched, but he's definitely like up there in the top 5 of like my favorite babies that I like have from this season.
Someone else finally gets it. I hate Cal Kings and Florida Kings for the same reason. Like you can't even the Eastern Kings are still like they're not as bad, but they're still pretty bad.
I just got 2 new localities of California king snake, and this year produced Ciudad Insurgences, Baja, Mexico, California king snakes, old school conjuncta. So I would appreciate if you guys watched out for my feelings and my heart right now.
Okay.
But
And
no,
I mean, like, if you
their
love them,
their
you love them.
temperament, yeah, they're my conjuncta are absolute dog shit to interact with unless it's like the end of the summer or breeding season, because breeding season they don't care, they don't even really want to eat, they just want to breed. And then towards the end of summer they kind of naturally start chilling out, so they stop being dickheads. But all summer long, like I'll be in the room working and like vacuuming and they're just biting the tub and I'm like, you literally just ate, I actively just watched you eat. Like it's a thing that
like
just happened.
5 minutes ago.
See,
and they're
that
tiny.
I can deal with because I deal with that with the chondros.
Yeah,
but they're not like the chondros don't like actively come out of the tub for me.
no,
And I can handle the chondros and not have to worry about them randomly being like, oh, this finger's food. It smells very slightly like maybe you handled something like 2 days ago, and I can tell you did. So I'm gonna latch on and give it a try. Like,
chondros, you
just
have to
do not
worry
let
about
go.
them randomly blowing their ass out and prolapsing. Justin, there's a whole other problem.
nah, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. That's babies.
That's just the babies.
It's just the babies. It's just the most fragile ones. Don't worry.
It's an easy, like, people. I haven't dealt with that. It's not nearly as terrifying. Like,
No,
at
I
first when
know.
you see it, it's like, oh my god, this is the worst. And then after you fix it, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. As long as you're smart about it and you kind of take the
shove their
steps.
insides back inside their insides, and they're fine.
It's
Right?
easy. Yeah,
A little
This is
sugar
why I
water,
was not a veterinarian. I could not handle that.
a little sugar water, a little
Corn syrup,
spit,
no,
and we're good to go.
no.
Chondros are great. But no, I'm with you as far as all the Getula, and I'm glad that you have one you do enjoy. Swindito, that is a great choice. That is a great animal to have.
He's a sweetie, and he has a pink butthole, and I think that's my favorite thing about him.
Fun fact: when me and my wife met, that's actually her favorite thing about me. Justin, what was the word
I was going? And I was like,
I didn't either. It had me in the first half.
Justin, what was the favorite? You have a favorite snake you produced this season?
Probably that Tessera that I showed earlier. I mean, they were all awesome. Like, I love Tessera stuff. You know, true
special animal, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah,
but I love Tessera. Like, you can put Tessera in anything, and I'm gonna like it. But yeah, I mean, that would probably be it. And then, I mean, the Loma Alta clutch and the Baird, and then the Dion's being a first for me, and sort of dealing with them and watching the whole process with those was pretty interesting. But as far as like single animal, I think that one Tessera in particular, and there's another one too. That was the second one that escaped over the weekend. Like, that one is really nice too, and that one I think is gonna. I found it. No, I got it. It came back, but it. I think it got under something it wasn't supposed to, because it looks like maybe it had broken a rib or two or something. It looks like it's going to be okay. But yeah, like, of course, I was like, this one's missing. And I was like, wait, that's the other one I really, really, really liked. Like, of course. Like, one last party gets God on this rack of like, okay.
You open up your incubator and you have the tub full of hatchlings and you're just looking at them. You just throw it against the wall and they just start flying. And
yeah, might as well.
Good luck, bitches.
Might as well.
Like an Easter egg hunt at this point.
Just go in and sprinkle pinkies on the floor once in a while. They'll be fine.
I did try that one night. I had a spare pinky, like a live pinky, and I put it in a deli cup on the floor and hoping that maybe if it was gone, I'd know that it was at least still in the room.
Nope.
No, didn't happen.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
And of course, anytime something gets loose, my wife is the one that finds it. Like, it's to the point now where if something's on the lam, I tell her to start looking for it because she's gonna find it. Like, it's almost eerie how good she is at coming across these things. So I just have her start looking, because the dog isn't going to find it. The cat isn't going to find it. You know, whatever.
If my cat finds it, it's eaten.
Yeah. And I'm amazed, because you would, in my experience, most of the time, like, if you have a cat and something's loose, like, you usually, hopefully you find it before they get a hold of it. But they'll be so hyper focused on one little area. They're like, it's over there. Like, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the cat doesn't ever stare in a corner like that. Except for when we have the Ouija board out and things start moving around. But
yeah, obviously. My cat is part serval, African serval, and so he's got a little bit more of the wild instinct. And I used to live in a smaller apartment for many terrible reasons, But I didn't have any doors in the apartment, and so all of the snakes were just like in a rack, kind of like in the living room area. And he learned how to just open up drawers, and he would just eat the snakes. He would just eat them while I was at work. And one day I came home to find like one of my snakes half eaten. She was a like rabid female snow, and I
Yeah.
had to have her put down. Well, she was still alive, but she had bite
Right.
marks and claw marks all over her
Oof.
body. I had to have her put down because there was like no saving her. She had internal bleeding, everything. It
Damn.
sucked so much. And I mean, I moved out of that apartment pretty quick. I don't even think I was there for a full year, but like I was about to get rid of that cat. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I
That's
was
tough.
Door
I was
sweep,
on.
man. $8 door sweep from Lowe's changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
It didn't have
Well,
any doors though. Wouldn't have mattered.
No.
well, there you are. You know.
Baby gates then. I don't know.
Baby
Tried that too. He just jumped over it. I don't know. We
Oh,
tried.
man.
Trust me,
I
we
was
tried
paying for the
everything.
snakes, but the cat, sure. I mean, give it a shot.
A couple of standouts from my season. I got to witness black pines, like a third out of the egg,
Summon
hissing and
those
freaking out.
demons
Just
of the
absolute
freaking
little
gates
demons.
of hell.
The black pines, I love them. I'm not going to be breeding them next year. I'm going to be giving my female a year off.
These things are the worst.
Oh, they're like the best though.
Thorn
It's
scrubs are the worst. I hatched
the
out that
thorn
thorn scrub
scrubs
clutch. I don't even know
are
what to do with those.
demons.
Those little dicks.
They're little demons.
God, they're horrible.
But the northern pines and black pines really meant a lot to me. You wait 4 years to pair them up. It happens. You get the eggs. They're huge. You get these babies. They probably could have eaten while they were still in the egg.
Yeah.
You get to share excitement. Some of my favorite species. Yeah, it was really cool. The pewters this year, just oh man, what a cool morph combination. That's kind of underwhelming at first, but becomes something so not underwhelming. Underwhelming is not the right word. Yeah, any charcoal stuff. I want to see where else we can take charcoal. I've never seen a charcoal terrazzo, which I think is just really neat.
Charcoal and honey. Burnt honey.
Charcoal. Well,
I've
charcoal
seen a
and caramel.
Terrazzo, but- Go
There
ahead.
is, it does. It's out there. I'm sure everything's been done with charcoal because charcoal, like Justin, you just said a charcoal honey. What would happen there is just like a charcoal sunkissed, you would kind of get a weird, almost shattery looking animal, right?
Mhm.
Because the caramel and the charcoal don't really do it. The caramel almost, I guess, the caramel charcoal probably doesn't even look anything beyond a charcoal with maybe a little bit more blushing in the saddles.
Yeah, it's just a light colored charcoal.
Yeah, and then you add in the sunkissed, and you're going to get the pattern differences from the honey.
It's just gonna look kind of like maybe a slightly more yellow hypo charcoal sun-kissed looking thing.
Yeah, so my thoughts are maybe we could take charcoal and put it into some extreme oakity stuff and get some hets and start putting it back and start seeing what that does. Increase the borders, make darker charcoals. I don't know. There's a lot.
It might be what I would do, like if it was me, not that it is, but if it was me, I would start trying to breed Okatee and Mask into charcoal at the same time. Like,
so all of mine have mask because the mom is an old school blood red pied, which we found out all old school blood red pieds are super mask. So I'm pretty sure one of the pewter tesseras is super mask as well. I think I can't remember, but yeah.
That's
so there's
a gene that I just struggle with a lot.
But it's so cool. You put mask into stuff, you get immediate results, and also you get a variety of results, which can be kind of exciting.
It's like half the stuff you sent me, the caramel Miami stuff. It's like mask with a question mark. Like, so
well, it's because I got a super mask out of that clutch, right? So I know there's mask out of those two caramel Miamis, right? Like it exists.
they
So
both
is it
have to
mask?
have it.
Yeah. So there's got to be I got a super mask.
I don't like the fact that it has such a high varying degree of expression. Like it's the high expression, like those are fine. Like those you can clearly tell, but it's those lower ones. Especially when you have people who are like, I don't want to have mask in something. It's like good freaking luck. It's like a minefield.
Yeah. My very first corn snake was supposed to be a normal, and he looked like a normal, and everything about him was very normal. Belly checkers were normal, head pattern was normal. Every single time I bred him, no matter what I bred him to, half his babies were masks. And like the only conclusion that I can come to is that genetically he's just a really low expression mask. And I mean,
that's got to be it, right?
Kind of maybe tell, but like you would not pick him out of a lineup of masks as a mask. Like you would not pick him as a mask. But
yeah. Here,
even with
Justin, I
the
just sent
low
you a
expression
picture
ones,
on
though,
your
do you
Facebook
still see
Messenger.
the belly patterns?
not always.
Because isn't there no?
It's
Here,
it's
check.
such a weird thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure that mask is actually like a gene mutation that is incomplete dominant like everybody thinks it is. It could be. But I think that okay, so either there's more than one thing doing the same job, or mask is not what we think it is.
I
That's
almost
my
think it's like
opinion.
it starts getting into when we had our show with Travis. My brain. Hold on. There it
Right.
is. I'm doing it again.
Wyman.
Dr. Wyman. We were talking about how some of these traits are not so simple as codom, incomplete dominant, simple recessive.
Yeah.
Like, get that out of your mind. Some of this stuff is 12 or 24 genes. And if you
Mhm.
have broken sections of that gene, you may find that you have a low expression of something, but it takes multiple inline genes. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm not a scientist.
Sure.
But yeah, it takes multiple of these things to click into line like one of those little puzzles to actually slide it out and unlock what that super form, what we would call a super form.
Yeah.
And then if you take that super form and breed it back to something that's normal, you may get an entire gamut, including a super form.
Yeah.
So I sent Justin a picture of this.
See, I do love that AML mask you sent me though. I mean,
That
even
AML
though
mask is
she's
badass.
a nut job, but
Scully,
love that
yeah,
just
she's
bone
awesome.
bone white head.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be
Look
a
at
fun thing to sort of expand upon.
Look at that little duder.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
But
a
he's
nice
obviously
little
super
snake.
mask, right? Like, all right, I'm guessing super mask.
I mean, maybe. I would. I mean, is that also diffused?
Yes, yeah, that's for sure diffused, and it's a completely
Yeah.
patternless belly. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. That's the
And he,
thing. Like, I mean, I've seen het masks that look that extreme too. So, like, I think the mask is not as simple as we think it is. That's why I don't label
probably
things as
not.
super
Yeah.
mask. I don't label things as super mask or whatever. I just say it's a mask. Like it's visually
Yeah.
a mask.
Yeah, he's a caramel diffused mask. That's what I'm
Yeah.
calling him. But but then again, like you just said, maybe that's not even mask. That's just diffused. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I
then
have
the
no
big
idea.
thing is, I know he's diffused because of the belly, right? It's
Right.
completely patternless from tip of the nose to the tip of his tail.
Yeah.
And it, I don't know. I produced some masks last year that were just masks that were definitely not diffused. I actually think I messaged you
You may have.
on Instagram or something, and I was like, look,
Probably.
I asked this question on the corn snake thing. I kind of hate people, and I was like, what do you think, mask or diffused? And you're like, okay, well, one looks diffused and one looks mask. I was, well, it was a diffused to het diffused. It was the same charcoal pewter project, the other project. And you're like, but that's got to be mask because it had like a couple checkers right here. And that was it. But it looked just like a diffused. Yeah.
That's all it takes, though.
And it was like a perfect diffuse. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of, so that's been my thing. Oh, man, y'all are not ready for this transition. But yeah, the patternless bellies is what really sets off diffuse. You know what else has patternless bellies? Motley.
Motley and Stripe.
So the Motley Stripe complex is probably some of the neatest genetics going on in corn snakes because as those two recessive genes go together, whether it's Motley to Motley, Stripe to Stripe, or Motley to Stripe, you immediately get results in pattern. And these can be compounded with a lot of other things, and they have other compounded genetics out there that do more interesting things with them. So we kind of wanted to spend half of the show today talking about these two genes and some of the things they do. We were hoping to probably kick it off with a little bit of the history of these genes from Sarah.
Okay. So I brought up my own book because that's what I wrote this book for, so I wouldn't have to remember it and keep it all in my brain. Selfish promotion, sarahstakeshop.com. These books are available as ebooks if you would like them. They are history books with pictures. So
I need to read them both again.
Yeah, it's super fun. So the original Stripe, since I'm on the Stripe page right now, hatched from some Okatee stock in the mid 1980s. Ernie Wagner was the one who originally sold the Okatees to a breeder in Europe. And then from those Okatees, the first Stripes were produced. And then it was later on bred to Motley, of course, and found to be allelic but recessive to Motley. So that's history number 1. Any follow-up questions to history of stripe?
No, that's pretty exciting. So it originated overseas. We brought
Kind
it
of.
over here.
Sort
Kind
Well,
of.
yeah, it was snakes
Ernie
sent overseas.
had the Okeetees here and then sold them over there, and then
Proved out simple recessive. A
Mhm.
stripe to a absolute wild caught animal is going to give you nothing but hets. We're not going to
Stripes.
see,
Yeah.
all het stripes. We're not going to see anything, any het markers, anything that might make
well,
you think that it's what is that?
So het markers don't officially exist. So I'm just going to start with that. However, if I hatch a clutch of possible het motleys or possible het stripes, I can, with about 75% accuracy, pick out the ones that have the het and which ones don't.
Okay.
It's not 100%, but that's a similar percentage as like a het palmetto, picking out a het palmetto from a possible het clutch. And it's about the same as picking out a het cinder from a het cinder clutch. So it's
What
something.
would we be looking for in a het stripe while we're on stripe?
So both Motley and Stripe are going to be the same as far as their like het marker, if that's what you want to call it. A lot of times they'll have no pattern on the belly, like maybe up to the first third or so of their body, but sometimes less than that. Sometimes just where you might expect like 2 or 3 layers of checkers to be, there's just nothing there. And
Okay.
also on the back where the spots would normally start, usually there are 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 spots going down to at least like a third to a half the body. I say at least up to about a half of the body. I think the most I've ever seen in a het Motley that was not visual, because I bred her to a Motley and they got some normal, so I know that she was not a visual Motley. She appeared to be almost 100% Motley, and she had just a few belly checkers at like the last third of her body there, and the top of her looked almost completely Motley, but she wasn't. She's not a Motley. So that's just fun fact. If you breed possible het motleys or stripes, any of them that look like they are like partially motley, good chance of that one's a het.
Okay. Not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee. Can't ever guarantee those things, but
okay. And then we're going to go to the history of Motley.
History of Motley. So Dr. Bernard Bechtel, who was also the person who found the original A. melanistic mutation, also found the first Motleys in 1972.
Wow.
And a long time ago. It was around the same time as the A. mels first came about. And I believe that he found her just in like a pet store or something. I don't think she was a wild caught. I think she was kind of, I don't remember exactly. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I believe from my memory that she may have come from a pet store or some other, I don't think she was wild caught. And, but he did get her as a baby and raised her up, and in 77 bred her, and then eventually proved the mutation to be recessive.
Okay, so stripe, we're talking about stripe. This
stripe
is a very different looking animal than a motley.
Yes.
Though they are both pattern mutations.
Yes.
Both have completely patternless bellies.
Yes.
A visual of either is completely patternless belly. Our motley is going to have saddles that start to connect, sometimes towards the neck, sometimes just a couple. Sometimes the connection of those saddles will actually create a stripe down the back, but it will not be the saddle that creates the stripe. It will be the in-between of the saddle, the base color. That is
the ground color. Color. So the center stripe will be the ground color. Okay. I say the center stripe, that's the one that goes like immediately down the spine. But then, sorry, I'm dropping stuff. And then the two darker ones, of course, that go from the side of the head downward, which is what you're going to that's what you're going to see in a stripe. In a pinstripe, it's similar, but it's usually a thinner stripe in a pinstripe.
And the fun thing about pinstripes is pinstripe is actually a motley.
Yes.
Yeah. I love these genes. So,
and a sunspot is actually a stripe.
Yes. That is on the other. Yes. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the actual visual of a stripe. So visual stripe can have a bunch of different. There's just two stripes right down all the way down the back. Usually start around the nape of the neck. Sometimes running all the way to the tip of the tail.
Usually,
they are usually the border color, if I'm correct.
Saddle color.
Saddle color.
There's no borders.
Yeah, you lose borders in both Motleys and Stripes to some extent. I believe you can have a little bit of bordering.
I mean, sometimes you can still kind of see it, but and I'm working on an Okatee Motley project, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. So we lose our borders, and now our saddle color is very thin stripes down the back, but that can be a full stripe. It can be a vanishing stripe, which only goes about. I have a vanishing stripe anery that I bred this year that I actually hatched out here, and dude, he literally almost doesn't have stripes anymore. He looks like a yellow to brown to gray snake, and I love him. He's really neat. Yeah. And then you can have cube stripe, which almost looks Motley.
Which does. It can. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where those two border, or I'm sorry, you said border. Now I'm thinking border. I'm sorry about that. Colored. Yeah. The blotch colored, the saddle colored stripes kind of start meeting in the middle again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can have sunspot stripe.
Yeah, which is where they only meet in the middle and only periodically over the top of the body.
Correct.
The reverse Motley.
Yes.
It's almost like a reverse. It's literally like a reverse Motley.
It is.
So we see.
And then there's reverse stripes as well, which the stripe combines about a third of the way down, and there's just one single dark colored stripe that goes all the way down the back.
Ah, like almost the opposite of a vanishing stripe.
It's the opposite of a pinstripe.
Okay. Yes.
See, the vanishing stripe thing, that's, I don't know. So I picked up 2 corns from Daytona, and this is like the perfect episode to talk about it, because one of them is the cinder that's supposed to be a tessera stripe. I showed Chris. He's like, yeah, it's just a vanishing stripe, which
tessera stripes look like vanishing stripes.
Sometimes.
I prepared a picture.
Okay.
There are pictures.
Because it's just
that's fine. That's what I'm here for. Listen, people call me about this all day, every day. They're like, "Will you identify my corn snake for me? I'm gonna send you the worst photos ever."
Sarah, this is actually a fake episode. We just wanted to know what the snake was.
Yeah,
dang it! I knew it.
Yeah. But that's why we're talking about this, because the combination of these genes. Okay,
I can see that. That's a tessera.
That is a tessera.
It's a tessera stripe. It's a cinder tessera stripe.
But does the vanishing stripe? My brain.
I produced tessera stripes this year.
The tessera stripe it's the same thing.
They're not the same thing, but they look the same. So vanishing stripes do not always have tessera, but the tessera's stripe almost always vanishes at least 2/3 of the way down, sometimes higher up on the body than that. I have seen a rare few where there are tiny traces of the stripes left near the end of the tail, but yeah, that makes sense. If you told, I named
him Firewire because of the red.
Firewire, that's cute. Yeah. I think that part of the confusion with this guy is the cinder, because cinder also changes the number of saddles.
Yeah.
And that's why cinder and Sunkiss don't get along very well, which I know that's something we were going to talk about a little bit later, potentially, but we can talk about it now if you want, since we're sort of here.
See, I don't know. Like, that's what they're confused because, like, seeing this
still
and not seeing
tessera.
sort of not.
Is that also Sunkissed?
No, it's supposed to be a cinder. Cinder tessera stripe is what it was sold as.
Maybe it's just the lighting. It looks very orange to me.
Yeah, it's the lighting for sure on that. But he's straight gray with like good nice burgundy, like burnt red.
Yeah. Okay. See, that looks like a whole different snake because of the light.
The lighting.
So my understanding, and this is just wrong, was that when you took tessera in either Motley or stripe, it did the same thing.
No.
See, and like this one is supposed to be a tessera. This was from Mike Falcon. He called it a tessera fader, and I was like, "Well, what's that about?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's just some stuff that comes out of this clutch, this pairing that I put together."
It looks like a combination of potentially mask and maybe like a pinstripe Motley or something. Maybe something like that, because mask can make that look happen too, and it's definitely got a weird head pattern, so it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. This one was so interesting. I had to get it. I was like, it's
for sure.
It's so cool looking. I was like, I don't know You know,
It
I
could
asked him
even be
about it, and he
diffused.
was kind of like, meh, but I don't know. I was like, that thing's gonna look rad in
Yeah.
a short amount of time. So who knows? But he had to
So
label it a
Justin,
fader,
is it
and
best
Chris again was like,
if
that's
I
vanishing
send
stripe.
if I send pictures to you through Facebook Messenger? Probably right, because you're on your computer.
Yeah, I'll download them and I'll just
Because
put them into the same folder.
so
It's
Sarah,
easier to
on
zoom
that
in
one,
here and
This looks like it might be like a blood red or diffused plus mask plus tessera plus maybe a hypotype.
well,
What
see,
is it?
because it has the break that you had
Yeah.
mentioned in your video there, and
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a ultra, is what it.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
see, I labeled that one. I
some
pinned that one as an Ultramel Motley.
tesseras still. I mean, I can't. It's really
It's
hard
kind
to
of where it
see.
washes out. That's like crazy on this one, right?
Yeah. So
and then it
one
comes
thing
back.
that Don Soderbergh mentioned to me at one point was some tesseras have a break at the tail, but as long as the stripe continues to the tip of the tail, that's really what matters. And like I've had some disagreement with that, but this one, I mean, if it's supposed to be a tessera, it looks like a tessera to me.
Yeah, I
would
mean, this one
believe that
looks
it was
more
a
like the
tessera.
Tessera stripe thing than the other one does, and that's why when Chris was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that just looks like a vanishing stripe," I was like, "Okay, that kind of
I
makes sense because it's not the solid line sort of down the back that you see with that cinder guy."
yeah, it could
And
be.
to everybody listening in your car,
You know.
I'm sorry, because this is going to end
Sorry,
up
yeah.
being a visual.
Yeah, this is definitely. I highly recommend anybody actually watch this video if you care
Because
about
there's
this
so
part.
much variation in these phenotypes, and that's what
Yeah,
we were trying to kind of talk about. Is you could, you know, it's a lot.
it is.
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
I think
So
that
this
the
guy
other
was
one is
on the
not a
table.
stripe. The Ultra
He
is
was
not a stripe.
surrounded by a bunch of. Okay. Yeah, this guy, the cinder guy, was surrounded by a bunch of Het Scalus and Het Palmetto stuff, and he was the only one that didn't have that on his cup, and he was sitting there for like $90, and I was like,
Hey,
"Why
that's
the
a
hell
pretty
is this
good
still
deal.
here?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "Give me your, here's my money, dude."
Take my money.
Like he's so
Yeah,
cool
he's
looking.
really
I was
cool.
like, I don't even care what it is.
So if you have a normal vanishing stripe, there's still a chance it could be tessera as well.
I would say that's unlikely, but
Okay.
possible. So when it comes to it's hard for me to express in words sometimes, and I may not always be 100% correct. However,
What?
I know, I'm not perfect, and I know that surprises a
How?
lot of people,
No,
but
unacceptable.
unacceptable.
We'll need you to fix that.
So tessera plus stripe, the stripe vanishes differently
Okay.
than a vanishing stripe. And the way when I say that, I mean a vanishing stripe tends to just sort of not be
Vanish.
there at the end of the tail. It just sort of
Yeah.
like oh, there's stripes, and then there's like not stripes anymore. But the tessera stripes, you can almost see as you go down the body, the stripe kind of dissipates. And it
Yeah.
kind of just, you can still see it further down the body. It just dissipates more and more, as
Yeah.
opposed to a vanishing stripe where there's not a whole lot of that dissipation. It's just
Kind of just stops.
kind of
right?
just
Yeah.
gone at some
Okay.
point. Yeah. And that's so from my experience, a vanishing stripe that is not a tessera is a lot more abrupt in the way that the stripe vanishes, and the stripes they have a lot more contrast from my experience.
Yes.
But then
Okay.
like because of that contrast, especially as babies, it's really easy to see that drop off from where the stripe is like there and versus not there. But like then with the tessera stripes, that stripe, there's no like defined like spot where you can't like see the stripe anymore. It kind of is like it kind of just fades out
Yeah.
very slowly until like by the time you get to the end of the tail, there's just no stripe there anymore.
Yeah.
And you're not really
So
sure where it stopped.
I've proved these guys out for a couple years. This is my 4th year producing these. This is a textbook Tessera Motley.
Okay.
So when Tessera and Motley go together, is this kind of the general phenotype you would see?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it looks like a pinstripe.
Yeah.
Like a really nice pinstripe.
And it has like perfectly blown out sides. You have the break at the tail every time. And I'd say more often than not, you don't have those little breaks on the stripe.
Right.
And so this is from a visual Motley Tessera Ultramel het stripe to a het Motley. So this is going to be an Ultramel stripe, potentially a Tessera.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's one. Can you pan up to its head again, or at least zoom out or something? Okay. Yeah, so that's a funny one, but I would probably pin it as a potential Tessera. Because you can almost see, I know you can't hardly, like, I'm just gonna point at the screen and you're not gonna know what I'm pointing at. But okay, so stop right about, okay, just take the mouse and just like go down until I say to stop. Just down the body. Can you do it?
I'm trying.
It's okay. I believe in you.
Put it on its spine.
My internet's struggling.
Yeah.
It's on its spine.
No, you're not, brother.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say about midway down the body, I can kind of see it like right where the base of your thumb is. If you go straight over from the base of your thumb to the snake's body, you can almost see where the two stripes sort of start blending and almost become one stripe going down the middle. And I know that that's very similar to what we talked about with the reverse stripe, but the stripe continues to dissipate more and more as you continue to go down the body from there.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was a reverse stripe, that stripe would be more prominent still. And that is what I mean when I say like a Tessera stripe, the stripe just dissipates differently. And that to me looks more like a Tessera stripe dissipation as opposed to a vanishing stripe. Because the vanishing stripes are going to pretty much remain parallel entirely. And this is parallel, yes, but it also sort of comes together a little bit at the base of the body.
One of the other things that kind of pins that as a Tessera stripe to me is the side is perfect, but it also has a little bit of that pinstriping down the side, which is what we see in the Motley. So Motley Tesseras I've been producing for a while, and it was just this year where I think I got some Tessera stripes. And I wasn't pinning them as Tessera stripes because you can't, you can, but it's a very difficult. You're combining similar genetics. But with the Motley Tesseras, you get that kind of perfect. I've always just called them perfect stripes. Yeah. I love Motley Tesseras. I love Motley Tesseras. And because it creates such a clean snake, and you still get a lot of the visuals of saddle color, of obviously base color, ground color, and you just get the sharpness of the two things combined. But it's kind of neat because Sarah, let's just say I have my stripe or my Motley, and I decide to breed either or to Sunkissed. What's going to happen?
You get normals?
Well, no. Okay, so I have Motley. Damn it! I had to think. My wife just walked out too, and I was just staring at her, and I was like, "Did I just say something dumb?" Okay, so I've got two Motley het Sunkissed. So what's the double visual going to look like?
That's different. That's different.
Yeah, but also Motley and Stripe will do different things as well.
Yeah. So a Sunkissed Motley is just going to look like a really clean looking Sunkissed usually. I've seen some Sunkissed Motleys. I think Joe Peck has a pair that look like Motley. They look like a typical Motley.
With the Sunkissed head pattern,
enough that it's got a little bit of a Sunkissed, but most of the time, literally every other one that I've seen, aside from that pair that Joe Peck has, every single one, it just looks like a really clean looking Sunkissed, with sometimes still some belly checkers. Sunkissed
really?
Doesn't play well with other things, which is why I was
even though it's visual Motley, you'll still get belly checkers.
Yep, because Sunkissed does not play well with other things.
Yeah.
So you will potentially, not always, but for everyone that I've had some belly checkers, even if it was just like a third of what you would expect. But still visual, still genetically Motley.
Okay.
Not that way with Stripe though. When you mix it with Sunkissed. Sunkissed stripes look like sunspots, like reverse Motleys, as we kind of talked about earlier. and they don't ever have any checkers on the belly from what I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a picture of my honey stripe.
Yeah, he has a honey stripe, which will be a great example for what you're talking about, which is kind of, the funny thing. A sun-kissed Motley usually looks kind of like a hypo Motley, kind of a funky head pattern, like you said. But now it sounds like you can even revert with sun-kissed because, like you said, sun-kissed messes a lot of things up.
It does.
Enhances a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's a super cool gene just in general. We could probably do a whole podcast on sun-kissed and what it messes up and what it fixes and what it makes better.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make everything better though?
Not Motley's, it sounds like.
I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't. I would say that Motley helps Sunkissed look prettier, but Sunkissed does not do anything for Motley.
Huh. But then you take Stripe and put
And Stripe makes
Sunkissed to it.
Sunkissed look prettier.
Yeah.
Everything makes Sunkissed. I don't know. Whatever. They all look pretty to me.
Yeah. The regular Dookie ones are pretty exciting still. But yeah, so your Sunkissed Stripe is a very weird thing. And like I said, Justin's going to pull up a picture for us. You start getting that spotting. The head has all that sun-kissed speckling on it almost always. Especially you put caramel in it, then you kind of like intensify that look. Though I don't think caramel has anything to do with the pattern. But you get you definitely define the look a little more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's gonna pull it up right now. Another weird interaction with Stripe, but not with Motley.
Weird in a different way.
Yeah, but we have a very exciting, no spoilers about what happens when you take Motley and breed it to Stripe. We're not gonna tell anybody yet.
Ooh.
Because that's the funnest one for me because it pissed me off the first time I found out. So yeah,
okay.
There's a awesome example of
I
a
freaking love that snake.
sun-kissed Stripe. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But because
That's a really, really high quality one for sure.
I
The
love
only
honey.
only saddle that has any squaring off is that like third one there. Everything else is perfectly round.
But it was sold as a honey Motley, and I was like, yeah, it's a Motley. It's just a weird looking Motley.
Sure, yeah, it's a Motley.
No, it's a reverse.
I mean, if
Motley.
you want it to be a Motley,
Reverse
sure.
So Sarah, just because maybe I haven't seen it, I definitely haven't seen it. What happens if you put Tessera in a sun-kissed Stripe?
There you go.
Would you have like kind of a vanishing sun-kissed Stripe kind of action?
I don't think I've ever seen it either. I'll be honest. I don't. Is that what that is?
No, that is a.
No, that's a honey Tessera right there.
That's a honey Tessera. There's no
Stripe
Stripe
Reptile
or
special right there.
Right.
Stripe or
Okay.
Motley in there.
That's just a honey Tessera.
That's just a good looking snake. Right.
Yeah, it is a really nice snake.
Jigsaw.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it either. I would be interested in seeing it because
Yeah,
again,
what happens when you put this?
Sunkissed is a boss, and it will not be overruled. So I wonder what would happen.
So okay, either Motley or Stripe. Are there any other genetics that we would know kind of right off the bat that interact with those?
Interact with Motley and Stripe.
So obviously we've seen like Motley diffuse.
Yeah. So Terrazzo, cool one.
So what does Terrazzo do?
So Terrazzo, I just saw this recently on Facebook. So from what I remember, a Terrazzo Motley looks kind of like a Stripe, and a Terrazzo Tessera looks kind of like a pinstripe. And I don't think I've seen a Terrazzo Stripe, but I'm pretty sure it would also just look like a Stripe.
Okay.
Yeah, because Terrazzo is kind of like just a stripe variant, more or less, right?
Yeah, it's just a different kind of stripe.
Terrazzo is kind of like recessive Tessera, almost a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. It's somewhere in between Tessera and Stripe, like it's its own weird thing.
And it's extremely variable.
Yes, Terrazzo. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Terrazzo. Like, I don't like striped morphs, just in general. I like pinstripe Motleys, but I don't really like Tessera that much. I don't like stripe. If I was gonna get into a genetic stripe, it would be a Terrazzo type.
Okay.
Because I just don't. I don't know. I feel like regular stripes are too boring as adults, and then I like pinstripes. just because I think they're cool because they're supposed to be spotted and they're not. But
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm gonna get a stripe, it would be a terrazzo because I just think their colors and their contrast can be so high, and I like that a lot. Let me take a quick look at a list to see if I can jog my memory on anything that Motley or Stripe looks weird with. This will not take me very long, I promise.
So is there
I have
anything as
seen-
far as like the cubes though? When you pair cubes with the other variations of that, do you see any difference, or is it just kind of a mix of?
Cube? Is that what you said, cube?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
kind of cut out, but he
Okay,
said,
sorry,
yeah.
I didn't quite hear you. So cube is a weird one. Sorry, I'm playing with scissors over here. That's what I'm doing for fun right now. So since cube is just genetically striped, anytime you outcross it to anything else, there's a less of a chance you will get cubes, even if you breed it into stripe. So if you have like a cube stripe and you just breed it to a regular stripe, there's not as much of a chance that you will get cubes because it's selectively bred. Now you can, but there's like it's kind of like blending. Like if you were to breed, if you were to breed like an Okatee with a borderless, you're gonna get like a nice mix of everything, and that's similar how it's gonna be with cube. Um, I'm gonna not directly answer that question right now because I'm gonna think about it, but Motley with Cinder is one that can look really weird. Cinder also
Okay.
doesn't work well with others, which is
Yeah.
why Cinder and Sunkissed don't play well with each other.
They make
But they both play
shatters.
well, and
which
they
are-
make really cool patterns.
Yeah, shatters are really neat.
Obviously, Scaleless is weird. Just in
Scaleless hates
general.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, Scaleless is weird. But that's about it. I mean, as far as things that look weird when mixed with Motley or Stripe, that's about it.
Yeah.
Most things are pretty straightforward. And we're looking at Ian's Vivarium right now, just the base morphs to see if anything triggers my brain. But
because none of the hypotypes really do anything. None of the anaerotypes.
Yeah.
Obviously,
like, ultra, like none of those things are really going to mess with it.
Yeah. So the neat combo wombo is if I take a visual Motley, not het for anything, and a visual Stripe that is not het for anything, and I pair those two snakes together, I should just get het Motley, het Stripes, right, Sarah? Right? I could not imagine anything else would happen.
Yeah.
But what is special about them?
They're all visual Motley.
Yeah. So why is that?
It's because Motley is dominant over Stripe.
But it happens on the same locus, I believe, right? In the genetics.
Yeah.
Allelic. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I like to think of it similar to how Tessera interacts with normal. So let's assume that Tessera and normal are on the same allele, even though like that's not really how it works. Normal is not like an allele, but if you breed a Tessera to a normal, like let's say you have a homozygous Tessera and you breed it to a homozygous normal, which is just nothing, you're going to get all Tesseras for normal. And then when you breed those two Tesseras together, you could get a chance of normals.
Yes. Okay.
So it's the same way with Motley and Stripe. Just because they're on the same locus, one gene, the Motley, is visually dominant over the Stripe. And so even though the Stripe is homozygous, similar to like our normal being homozygous, like the reason that I do this is because the normal look is recessive to the Tessera look. And so it's the closest like thing that we have that we can really compare. So if you breed a homozygous Motley to a homozygous Stripe, they're all going to be visual Motleys just because Motley is visually dominant. And then, of course, when you breed the Motley's het Stripe together, that's when you have your chance of getting stripes. And so it's the same way if you have a homozygous Tessera, you breed it to a homozygous normal, you get all Tesseras, but then in that second generation, you'll have a chance of getting normals.
Because those are all now heterozygous Tesseras, even though they're visual.
Yeah.
Because Tessera only takes one gene to be,
Yeah.
Because, like you said, Tessera and normal kind of fall on that same allelic.
You could say that. I just use that as an example because it's not it's not really true, but it's a decent example to compare the two in your brain. The only difference is that both Motley and Stripe are also visually recessive to normal.
Which is, I have found the most amazing thing about it. You know, we have the Ultramel in the hobby, which I think is a really neat combination because it is only visible. Yeah, it's only visual if it's het Ultra, het Amel. A visual ultra is kind of like a hypo type.
Yeah.
And then a visual AML, we all know what that looks like. But for some reason, when you get the two together, that's why you never breed ultra male to ultra male. Well, I mean, you can.
Can.
But the best pairing is
ultra male
ultra male to
right?
AML. Yeah, because now
you
you're
get
going
half
to
and
get
half.
Yeah. So this is one of those similar genes where you can have my male, one of my males is visual Motley het stripe, and I pair him to a stripe female or a het stripe female. I get a little bit of both. I get a little bit of Motley, a little bit of stripe, which is kind of fun. But he's also Tessera, so that also sucks because Tessera stripes kind of suck to figure out. And Tessera Motleys are usually Tessera Motleys for me have been textbook. Like, I know exactly what a Tessera Motley looks like, and it's so funny because people will be like, "Is that a Tessera Motley? Is this a Tessera Motley? Is this Tessera Motley?" And you'd be like, "No." And then the second somebody's like, "Is this a Tessera Motley?" You're like, "Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they all look like." Now that can get messed up with other genetics getting in there, your Cinders, your Sunkiss, and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of the neat mystery. It's not a It's actually not a mystery. The best thing about this is it's not a mystery. It just becomes a mystery when you haven't informed yourself on it. Which luckily you, through your book, your videos. I know you've done multiple videos on Stripe and Motley.
Yeah, I just made another Motley one. I recorded it. Forgetting I just made one like 2 months ago, covering the exact same material. So no one will ever see that video. I already made one just like it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, someone asked me specifically, like, well, what are the different kinds of stripes? And actually, one of my next videos that I plan on making, and it's a heavy one, so I haven't like delved into it yet, is how to tell the difference between the Tessera Motley, Tessera stripe, pin stripe, regular stripe. Like, this whole conversation we're having is a plan for a future video. I've been typing up the script for it and looking for photos, but it is a beast to tackle. I have not finished it
sure.
In this hobby, as far as pattern variations go, this is the most heavily contested thing that I have ever seen. You know, corn snake morphs, tens of thousands of followers on Facebook. The corn snakes on Facebook, 30,000, tons of people, and they'll post something. Somebody be like, "Oh, look at this awesome Motley," and somebody be like, "No, that's a Motley Tessera," and somebody be like, "No, that's just a Tessera," and somebody be like, "That's a pinstripe Motley," and somebody be like, "No, that's a stripe," and it's like,
the poor person who posted it who wasn't sure.
Yes.
Like, oh god.
I always say that, like, and that's why I try to generally not give people advice unless they ask. Or I'll just message them and be like, "Hey, so that thing that you posted and you said it was a Motley, it looks like it could be this. What are the parents? Let's have this discussion." Then you get these posts where you get like 10 different answers to a question that no one asked. No one asked. And everybody is just giving their answers anyway.
Yeah.
Where does Hurricane fit into the whole Motley?
Frosted Motley.
Frosted Motley.
What the hell's frosted?
I also made a video specifically on Hurricane.
You have, and I've watched almost all of them, but it's just been over the course of the last like year plus. So there's some that I have actually gone back and rewatched, and that one has been on the agenda. I just haven't done it yet.
Yep. So frosted as a term in the corn snake community has a little bit of a sketchy background because it used to be the term for the gray rat corn snake hybrid. And these hybrids had very like whited out saddles that looked like the frosting on a window in the winter. Mm-hmm. So they called the frosted corns. Nobody calls that hybrid frosted corns anymore. Nobody. Like, even back when Kathy Love wrote her what was it? The corn snake manual, at least the copy that I have, she was already not really calling that hybrid frosted. They were using the frosted term to mean the look of the frosted, not the hybrid. So already, like, back in the like 90s, this term was not really being used as a hybrid term anymore. Some people will still use it as that. So you got to be careful when we're talking about this. We are specifically talking about the frosted look and not the hybrid. But essentially, it's when the snake does not have as much pigment within the saddles, and it does kind of look like, the frosting on a window, which is why we just call it frosted. And so when you breed this frosting into really good, nice, uniform Motley, you get Hurricane. And Hurricanes are usually anery types. So a lot of people originally thought that they were like Okatee aneries because it looks like they have these dark rings around their spots,
They're cool.
and so people think that that's Okatee. However, it's not. The only reason that that dark ring looks like a dark ring is because everything around it is whited out. And so, and you don't see too many really good hurricanes that are not anery. And I think part of that, at least from my experience, is because the red pigments will still show up in a normal hurricane. So, because I've hatched a few normal hurricanes that as babies, perfect hurricanes, perfect, beautiful, just like great contrast. But then as soon as that red and orange started coming in, you can't hardly tell that they're hurricanes anymore. It's only the snakes that really are lacking in red. So you can see really nice hurricane spots in like lavender motleys. I've never seen a charcoal, or I'm sorry, a cinder motley with one, or that was like a hurricane, but not a lot of people do cinder and motley anyway. But yeah, aneries are really popular. Anything that's like ghost or anything like that.
I have a cinder motley from Carol Huddleston's zombie line.
Nice.
And it is definitely a unique motley type. Even the zombie motleys, because that's what all the zombies are motleys.
Is that true?
I think so.
I don't think that's true.
I don't know.
I think that most of the zombies originated in Miami.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. My dad had a lavender motley when I was a kid, and that thing had that hurricane look to it, and that thing was freaking killer. I've never seen another one like it.
Yeah, yes, I really like. I have one of those, and they're really pretty.
The het cinder motleys and the cinder motleys have a very neat motley pattern.
They do.
But then you could devoid all of that out of a motley, and then isn't it true you could also line breed your motleys for specific patternings?
Yeah.
If you had two pinstripe motleys, paired them together, you're going to get predominantly pinstripe motleys. You're not going to pop out a hurricane or a very...
Well, I mean, probably. Although I have... So I say that because I have... So my pair of possible het goldens, my two adults that are siblings that I bred for years, the pair that I held back from them last year, I held them back because one of them is a pinstripe and one of them is a hurricane.
That's kind of cool.
So I was like... And they've never produced that before. They produce motleys, but... nothing that like specific. And so I named them the Piglin, the Pinstripe, and Hoglin, the Hurricane motley.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have kind of found motleys are a little bit more, for me, and this is just in my experience, and it is limited, motleys are a little bit more controlled. If I have two similar motleys and I breed them together, I get more similar motleys, where a stripe necessarily isn't. If I take a stripe to a het stripe, or I have never done stripe to stripe, I get much more of a variation in my stripes. I'll get cube stripes, more laddery stripes, more just typical stripes, or vanishing stripes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Stripes are a little less predictable.
Yes. I really like both. The last few years, I've really focused on producing stripes. And now that I've raised a few stripes to breeding or to close to breeding, I kind of am finding that I like the motley a little more.
I love motley. Motley is probably my favorite pattern mutation.
It's
and they're also like highly variable. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna get. I mean, kind of. Sometimes it depends. That's the thing. Like, I have always found motley to be very not controlled either, except for some of the selectively bred things. Like if you have a really good hurricane motley, that's probably going to pass on. If you have a really good pinstripe motley, that's probably going to pass on. So I mean, but I've also gotten ones where I'll have two, like I have two perfect hurricane motley aneries that are both at amel and stripe, and I get the weirdest stuff out of that pair. They just some of them are pinstripes, some of them are cube stripes, some of them are regular motleys, some of them are really nice hurricane motleys, some of them look like banded motleys. I don't know. They're siblings and they're from a really nice hurricane line.
Yeah.
But they just throw random crap at me and
you start getting your variations.
I don't know how to label them. I don't know. I had some from that clutch that I sold I say that clutch. I've had multiple clutches with the same pair. I sold last year, and the person sent me an update photo. One of the babies that hatched out perfectly black and white is like a super light gray and brown. It like looks like a ghost now. And I have no idea. There's no hypo. I don't know what's up with it.
That's what I mean. This is going to kind of devoid off of the Motley and Stripe. One of the most amazing things about breeding these snakes is there's so much variation in just these base things that we're talking about that people are so definitive when we talk. I'm co-hosting a corn snake podcast, and I'm literally sitting here and being like, I bred these animals for many years. I've collected these animals for many years. Is that stripe got tessera or does it not? Does it maybe, now you got to prove it out? And it's one of the neatest things about this is the only way we can find definitives is through years of work, right?
Years of work.
And I'm one of those people that I think like an Anery Motley or an albino Motley are two of the coolest looking corn snakes you can get.
Yeah.
You take me to show and give me an albino Motley.
Anery Motley for sure. Yeah.
Anery Motleys are cool. And it's so funny that these two, an AML corn snake and an Anery corn snake, are two of the most talked down morphs in this hobby, right?
They are.
Ball python people are like, what are you going to do? Produce an albino corn snake? Guess what? Every single one of my albino corn snakes sold for $75 to $100 at every show I've ever been to, and they're some of the first ones people pick up, and they walk right past your ball pythons.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And it's I know that's not a lot of money, right? I'm not selling the farm over.
All right, Mr. Moneybags,
right? But $100 is there's something to say when you see these animals. And one of the things I want to look up is I have an AML Motley that she has successfully not bred for me 2 years in a row. I've probed her over 1 billion times. She is definitely female. She is definitely ready, and she just maybe she just doesn't want to, and that's okay.
She could be male picky. I've had some females that are very picky with the males they will allow near them.
I think that's what happened with that one other wild caught female that I've been raising up for like 3 or 4 years now. That I had that Castagna Motley male in with her for like an extended period of time, and nothing happened.
Just not having it.
No, whatever.
Here, I'm gonna send.
Does she flip out, or is she just like not interested?
Little this, little that.
Yeah. One thing I have done with picky females, which is a little manipulative, but they're snakes.
Gave
so
them a couple glasses of wine, told them it was going to be all right.
But I'll get the female out and I'll handle her pretty rigorously for about 10 to 15 minutes before throwing a male in with her. And they get kind of too tired to run away. And they're just like, okay. I know that seems, I'm just like, how is this bad? I don't know if this is bad. But
it's not bad.
It doesn't always work. But
I know of lychee breeders that literally take the head of the female and the head of the male, wrap them up with electrical tape, and then literally take the females, wrap them up with electrical tape so that they'll breed. Because instead they just fight the shit out of each other. And so no, don't do that. By the way, it's bad.
Don't do that, please don't. That's terrifying. No, I'm over here just like, hey girl, I'm just gonna pick you up and hold you for 15 minutes. Hope you don't.
And you're like, I don't know if that's bad. No, it's crazy. It's funny. I've heard people say stuff like that about king snakes, and it's so funny. King snakes are so excited to breed. The female never tries to eat the male when they're breeding. It's always right after. So just keep your eyes on them.
Just watch them. Yeah.
Just watch them. And then the female will try to eat the male almost every time. It's super fun.
Super fun.
And king snakes breed for like up to 12 hours.
See, that's why I like Alterna. I've never had to worry about that with Alterna because they're the anti-king snake.
I do love Alterna.
Oh.
There's some gorgeous snakes.
They're so amazing. The ones I hatched this year, I hatched some stuff. I have a high black project from F1 to F1.
Nice.
Same locality, same cut. And I have a male. I call him the Dark Knight. He is almost solid black.
Wow.
And he went to a very dark Blair's face female. And I got some of the best looking baby Alterna I have ever seen. I haven't really posted pictures of them. I sent some to Justin. Dude.
Have fun with those.
They're Alterna phase. Well, they're 5 out of 7.
I love Alterna, but I ain't ever breed them again.
I almost got more Alterna eating than you do Dion's. I don't want to hear about it, brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm here for it. But it's funny, the Montaigne Kings, Leonis I bred this year, Alterna I bred this year, and I've heard the same about Mex, Greer Rice stuff. They breed for like seconds. They go in, they're super aggressive breeders. They get it going.
SEAL Team 6 it.
Yeah, my man's in, he's out, and then it's so funny they just separate and they just leave each other alone. Yeah. You can leave them overnight; they're not going to do anything. Getula breed for just hours and hours and hours, and there's semen everywhere in the tub. And dude, it's so funny. Afterwards, the female is just like, "Oh, this is so stupid. Leave me alone." And she'll try to eat the male sometimes. And then the male, you can literally pick him up, and he looks like a limp noodle. He's just, it's like, bro,
hey, you know what? You took a lot out of him.
Yeah, and it's so funny.
He's probably trying to get the job done while she's busy wrapped around him trying to eat him.
What I did when I bred Eastern Black Kings, and then this year when I bred the Conjuncta, and hearing stories from other people, they just breed. The male just keeps going, and then they're all done, and the male's just sitting there pretty much dead, and the female's like, homie looking delicious. You know?
Homie looking delicious.
Taking advantage of him when he's in this Stephen Hawking mood.
Yeah, and then your Alterna, you put them together, and in seconds they're breeding. You know, after there's a lot more that goes into breeding Alterna in preparation. The brumation, the feeding, the how you're introducing them, and then it's so funny. They breed in like seconds, and they're just like, oh my god, you're disgusting. Like, please stay away from me.
I know you were just inside me, but please go away.
Yeah, it's like I know that I love this.
Months in prep for this, and it's over. Like, okay. Whatever.
But hey, Justin, did that picture go through yet?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked at my phone.
I sent it on the Facebook Messenger. I don't know how this is. I actually do not know how technology works, and if anybody ever asks me, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I almost saved this one and put it up just because on the topic of Motleys and things.
Y'all young kids get this. I just don't. I'm old. I'm way older than both of y'all. Like 10 years older than both of y'all. I'm about to be 38.
He's got that Benjamin Button shit going on.
You're not 10 years older than me. You're only 8 years old. You're less than 8 years older than me.
Well, then I look 10 years older than you. How about that?
You're not. Don't even go
no argument there.
No argument there.
You old bitch.
You old bastard. One of the things that I think people need to find appreciation in with Motley and Stripe, Stripe is a very polarizing morph. You find people that just love Stripe corn snakes. You find people that just don't. That's not their thing. Sarah, you were saying earlier, Stripes aren't your favorite. Yeah. As Stripes age, regardless, they wash out a little bit, right? You're not going to get an adult Stripe that's going to have kind of that very defining. I'm hoping that some of those ultramel aneries that I might have produced this year are going to kind of have some really neat stuff as they get older. Also, might end up with a piece of bubble gum. But you're like a bass bait. You know what I mean? But Motley is something that almost as it goes through its ontogenic change gets better, and I think people need to keep their eyes on your AML Motleys, your anery Motleys. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a charcoal Motley. I know it exists, right? Like this is a simple combination, but it's got to be cool looking, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, it looks like weirdly enough, the charcoal Motleys I've seen look very anery, like normal anery, like as babies. Like I've always been surprised at how high the contrast is. I don't think I've ever seen an adult one though in person, so it's hard. I don't know what to say about that.
I can't imagine it's much off, right? Like, because I don't know.
Not. It's probably the charcoal with the Motley pattern.
Some of your Motley snows really look special.
The
depth of a snow can really go more than people think. People think that snows are just going to end up white, right? They're not. They're not at all. Snows are some of the most visually appeasing morph combos out there. You know, your blizzards, which I've seen, your albino charcoals, they're really neat. They're really white. They're white snakes. They're adults. They have some patterning. I don't find them as exciting. I find a palmetto much more exciting. If you're kind of looking at something like that, you get more pattern, you get more depth to it. It's a little more different. But yeah, your Motley. I mean, God, Motley caramels, right? Like we all love.
Yeah, I think that Motley makes caramel look really good. I don't like caramel without Motley. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't like caramel without Sunkissed.
I gave
nice too. I guess I just don't love like the base caramel morph. I love working with caramel mixed with other things.
Yeah.
Like just regular caramels. I really
like the caramel, Het Cinder, caramel, Miami stuff. I
Yes.
really like that
That's
stuff.
really nice. That silver background. Yeah, that's a nice snake.
AML Motley, right? Like we're
Nice
talking about two of the
Motley.
oldest morphs. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a pretty
What's it
animal,
like to
right?
never have skin on skin contact with your animals, Chris?
Well, Justin, as we all know, I am allergic to the world, and I'm not proud of it. So I don't necessarily often hold my snakes without gloves. But it's because I'm allergic to aspen and mice
Oh,
and sunlight.
that sucks. I would not like you. That's oof.
Sunlight.
Well, Sarah, I love to be me. Okay, so
Well, I'm
I
glad
wake up.
because you know what? You can have your problems. You don't want my problems. I don't want your problems.
Of which there are many.
You notice in all my pictures, I'm wearing gloves, specifically extra large, the nitrile gloves. If anybody wants to send me boxes, I go through about 4 boxes a month. They're $14.99 on Amazon. And hit me up for my address.
Get a wish list, man. Just get an Amazon wish list and post it somewhere.
I posted that on my OnlyFans, but I'm having some trouble getting traffic out there for my OnlyFans.
You have OnlyFans?
Yeah, of course. I mean, who doesn't these days? You know what I mean?
I don't just because I was like, I don't do that. No judgment to other people who do that, but like I feel like that website is for people who want to make a living in a certain way, and I don't want to infringe on that. That's just sort of my thing. It's like that's their space.
There's like chefs on there. It's like, dude, come on.
I know.
What are you doing here?
My running joke is that we're going to start an OnlyFans with the Reptile group that's going to be all dad bods with snakes. Right?
That would be funny. I've considered doing OnlyFans stuff just like with my snakes.
To do it.
Just dressed like this. This is just my pajamas.
If
hey,
I get one subscriber, I've made it for life, right? One subscriber, $12.99 a month. Hit me on OnlyFans, GeckoDaddy6969 _6969. I mean, one subscriber, $12.99 a month, right? You're going to be able to feed my kid. She's about to be 6. It's about to be her birthday. Let me know. She has a wish list. She likes LOL dolls, right? Like, hit me up.
At that age, all they do is snacks, so they eat you out of house and home.
Oh my God, my kid does nothing but ask for snacks, and then like I make dinner, and she's all, "I'm not hungry." I'm like, "You want to know why?"
Then 30 minutes. No, mine does that, and then 30 minutes later, she's like, "I'm hungry." I'm like, "Well, you didn't want to eat dinner, and we told you kind of had to." And then she'll eat like an entire bowl of like frozen fruit or something, and then she's like, "No, I'm not hungry."
And they're constantly getting smarter, which is like you try to pull the same like shit on them, like you try to do the same joke, and then like they're smarter than you the next day. And it's the most amazing thing. My kid in the car today, because I had to go to the doctor and do like infinite medical things, I had a little Band-Aid on. And my daughter was like, "Daddy, what happened?" I was like, "Oh, I had to have blood drawn today." And she was all like, "I care about you." I was like, "Thanks, baby. I care about you too. I love you." She's all, "That's called empathy." And I was all, "Lily, you're 5. Do not say empathy to me again. Unless it's in a joke. Unless we're making fun of things about empathy.
In case you didn't know, Dad, caring about somebody is called empathy.
That's called empathy. You should get some.
Empathy. Yeah. I was like, I have been devoid of that for years. I grew up without the internet. I hate everyone. That's not
true at all.
Anyways, no, I don't have an OnlyFans yet. I'm working on it. Been taking lots of pictures. Been working out. Trying to hit that dad bod.
I forego all that and just sell my body on the streets.
Like a real man.
That's right. That's where the real money is.
Anyways, we are derailing hard, and I'm the one that's supposed to keep us on track. Anyways, so wrapping up on the Motley and Stripe jeans, they're both really neat. You can do a lot of really fun stuff with them. One of the funner things you can do is if you have a Motley het stripe male, you can actually breed it to a stripe female and a Motley female as well. You can one male to multiple females, and you can really get some variation. Even if you had a Motley het stripe to a Motley het stripe, now you're really pushing the limits of what you can make. 50-50 clutches. Start pairing that in. I produced some ultra male Motleys this year that were just bangers. That's another thing that you can do. Start, get if somebody was looking for a great breeding project and you trusted the person that was selling you your snakes, you could get like an ultra male Motley het stripe and then an A-male het Motley or A-male het stripe or a visual A-male Motley het stripe, and then pair those together, and you're getting a absolute
nice variety,
plethora of stuff. And that's one thing we've kind of been trying to hit a little bit more, like what are great projects that people could just try out. Hell, make sure both of them are het anery, and now you're going to get snows mixed in there.
Ultramel aneries, Motley's, stripes, yeah.
Het caramel and get some butters. Let's go.
That's like
Motley
everything
butters
that
are
I
just like,
have.
yeah. These are great combinations.
Yeah. That's I used to have, and unfortunately, he was one of the ones that my cat got, but he was a caramel pinstripe Motley,
Ooh.
het AML, and het stripe, I believe. And I bred him to like everything.
Yeah.
Because he had everything that I wanted. And I happened at the time to have a female stripe who was het for ultra. Didn't even know she was het ultra, and she was also het caramel. So breeding them together, I got all these different things, and it was a really great pairing. But that was unfortunately short lived because that male is no longer with us.
Yeah.
But he was a really nice male, and I wish I had him. Wish I had him again.
But that sucks. I'm thinking about I had a sulfur mask from Joe Phelan that was just she was going to plug into so many things because you can also buy these combo wombos and you don't have to get everything out of every clutch, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are like, oh, I have a sulfur, which is for the normies out there. A sulfur is a caramel albino diffused. And then also had mask, and it was a super mask, which was just super neat. It had this bone white almost head, and then it had all this crazy yellow. You could take that snake. I mean, you could still pair it to an ultramel, right? And get ultramels and amels, right? You could pair it to a caramel, get all caramels. You could pair it to a diffused and get all diffused, right? You could pair it to a pied diffuse, right? Have a bunch of really pretty diffused, some potential pied diffused, and walk away with something that has a bunch of really neat hets that you can work with in the future, or something that you can sell where people are interested in having those hets. Don't disclude yourself from generating a project based off of hets. Or me, I have my pewter project, which is funny because I have pewters now, and I actually bought a pewter a couple years ago and raised her up, and I'm going to be breeding her next year. But I started with a charcoal tessera het diffused and a blood red pied, which is diffused. Excuse me. Het charcoal, which was kind of my plan was to make my own pewters, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to make your own make your own product, make your own pewter. I ended up 2 years in a row not making my own pewter, so I bought a pewter, and then now I made my own pewters and then some.
Well, congratulations, you hit it.
Yeah, I did it, and I'm super. It's so funny. Buying that pewter, I didn't buy it in like anger or angst. I just wanted a pewter. Like, God damn, I don't want to buy this stupid snake. But creating pewters in my house while having the pewter doesn't matter. But creating the morph that I was trying to create, I wanted pewter tesserats, right? And one of them looks like it's going to have some pied siding on it, which I think is just the bee's knees. And so it's like finally hitting the morph combination in my collection after what is actually 6 years. I try to raise everything from babies. That's me. Raising these snakes from babies, breeding these snakes, and then years and years of not getting the combo wombo, and then hitting the combo wombo 3 times. Well, 2.5 times. It's we can all do this. We can all do this in 20-gallon aquariums, and we can all share this with friends, and it's awesome. And you can make something like an albino Motley, like that girl that we just showed. That's just a stunning animal, and you can have that in your collection, and that's what I love about corn snakes. Nobody's going to look at that snake. John Laster comes over here, looks at snakes. We hang out. We drink beers. This guy's got 30 years of tenure in this hobby. He's producing animals that the world literally hasn't. I don't even know if people have seen some of the stuff he's produced. And he looks at that AML Motley. He's like, "Damn, that's a badass snake, right?" And it's like, yeah, man, it really is. It's cool. And now he's got a huge collection of corns now because they sell pretty easily, but at the same time they're just neat. It's fun. It's cool. It's and I talk about him a lot. He's a mentor to me, and we drink beers, but we can all do this on a budget as friends and family. And anyways, it's my kind of very excited about Motley Stripe is just kind of one of the diverters into this because this is something from the 70s, right? Early 70s. It's existed in this hobby forever.
Yeah, the let's see. what was it? Stripe? Yeah, Stripe originated in the mid 80s, and then the Motley originated in the mid 70s. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they've been around for a long time, and it's still hard to know what you're gonna get sometimes. And I honestly think that, we've been talking a little bit about the ultra and ultramel stuff. That by itself can change things because of
Yeah.
some of that hybrid origin. So, I have had I want to say marginally high percentage of ultramel motleys that still had belly checkers. Not full belly checkers, but like, some, like
Yeah.
maybe a fifth of what a normal would have. And that's kind of weird. But I
Yeah.
think it's because of that motley or that hybrid origin. And so like you just don't know what you're gonna get. And I get a very high percentage of banded motleys out of
Yeah.
the ultramel stuff as well. So you just don't know. You just don't know what you're gonna get. And that's part of the reason that Motley has its name, because it's just you don't know what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
Weird. But yeah,
And,
I personally love that whole combination. I bought a pair of Hurricane and Ray Motleys that were sold to me as ghosts, but they're not ghosts. Um, and they both ended up being hit for Stripe and Amel, and so I've paired them every year that I've had them, and their babies don't like to eat, but they have some nice pretty babies. Once they get eaten, they're
yeah. And it's, junior hobbyist out there, maybe you buy a AML Motley, maybe you buy a Motley Anery or something cool like that. But buy something that's going to be fun to pair it to.
yeah.
Get something off the wall. Get a Castagna, right? Get a lava, right? Who's doing work with lava
Get
right
your
now? It's a hypotype, right?
Yeah.
Get you some heads, bring them back, spend some time, spend 5-6 years, and make something cool. And then walk
Yeah.
out and be like, look at this. Look at how neat this is.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah. Especially
And it's
corn snakes. Corn snakes are easy.
there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of people out there breeding them that don't even maybe post pictures occasionally, and you don't even realize they'd be so excited to send you snakes. And yeah, so anyways, guys, any wrap ups on Motley, Stripe, being excited about the hobby? I mean, any of that?
I mean, I'm always excited about the hobby. Kind of. I say that, but yeah, there's definitely been some interesting parts of the hobby that have made me want to leave the hobby. But for the most part, hobby's free to
It's not
play.
the animals, though.
It's
No.
not the animals. The
Yeah.
animals are easy. It's the people that are not easy.
Yep.
So if you're a people person, you'll do great in the reptile hobby.
Yeah.
But I don't know too many people who are into reptiles that are also good with people.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
KP's the only
mutually
one.
exclusive.
I find myself dipping my toe into a lot of different facets in this hobby. And it's kind of funny, whether it's the gecko world, the eublepharid world, which is geckos, of course, the king snake world, the alterna world, I'll never get to keep pythons, but the carpet python world, the Eurasian rat snake world, the corn snake world, the Pitchophis world. I'm a huge Pitchophis fan. There's little pockets of toxicity in all of this, all of it, every single facet. I found it in every single pocket, and it's finding a way to work past it and ignore it. That in the end may be very difficult, but will end up walking away being the most rewarding, because shitty people exist. I raced cars for 20 years. I kickboxed. I skateboarded for 15 years. I was a sponsored skater. There's every little hobby that Warhammer. I'm a huge Warhammer buff. I love Warhammer, and every little hobby has its toxicity. It's how we placate that, how we walk around it, how we ignore it to some extent. Like, you're one human in a world of 300 bajillion. I don't know. There's a number, probably 7.8 billion. 7.8 billion people or whatever. I don't know.
Somewhere around 8 billion, I think, is somewhere where
Yes. Yeah. And it's, I live in a city of 400,000 people, right? And I go to a reptile show that I've been twice a year. That's it. And I've experienced some aggressive toxicity from just people that just, who even are you, right?
Right.
But I have people that come up and shake my hand and say, "Hey, I'm a fan of the podcast." I'm like, "Holy shit, you live in my city? Let's be best friends, literally forever."
Yeah.
And it's like, the positivity always outweighs the negative. So don't dwell on the negative, because that, we all have anxiety. We all have the tenacity to kind of focus on those things. And Sarah, you've been a part of it. Justin, I've seen you have to deal with it as well. And it's not dwelling on those little things. It's finding the bigger picture and We didn't get into this because of anybody else. We did it because we loved it, because we enjoyed it, and focusing on that.
Well, the nice part is the social aspect of it is not necessary.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
have to have it. Thank God.
You can also put the phone down. You can also
That too.
You can delete Facebook. You can delete Instagram. You can delete YouTube. You can delete Messenger. You can delete whatever everything, and you could sit at home with some badass snakes and just enjoy them, right?
Yep.
You also don't have to breed them, right? You could just have
Yes.
snakes. There's nothing wrong with just
What?
having snakes.
Big thing. Like so many people are like, "Oh, I just have this snake, and I think one day I'll breed it." And I'm like, I think you need to do a lot of thinking first.
Yeah.
I think you need to be researching veterinarians, and I think you need to be reading books, and I think you need to be reading care sheets, and I think that you need to understand the potential repercussions that that female that you have been raising from a baby that you love and are attached to could die in a minute if she
Yep.
does not get medical care and she is drowned.
Yep.
So be prepared or don't do it. Like
Yeah.
for real. Like just it's fine if you have a pet snake. It's really just fine if they're just a pet. And I have a few snakes that are just pets. I have one amazing, beautiful, beautiful ultramel Okatee female who I got from a friend when she couldn't have corn snakes anymore for one reason or another. And this girl is a retired breeder now. She's not too old, but she is a very picky feeder, and it's hard to get weight on her. She doesn't want to. She only really wants to eat like every other week. She's healthy. She's a healthy size, a healthy weight, but she's not where I would consider I wouldn't be comfortable breeding her, you
Yeah.
know? So, and that's just always been her. She's just always been that way. And her mom, I know her, I know the snake who is her mom, oddly
Yeah.
enough. And her mom was the same way, always a very picky feeder, a very picky breeder. And so I just decided, you know what, this is my friend's snake, and she's just a retired pet, and she's just sitting in my little display tank, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way with my little king snake. Like, he's just a pet. I'm not going to breed him. He's
Yeah.
also kind of a garbage disposal. I didn't need a garbage disposal. Like,
No.
I had a whole euthanasia process for any babies that were, you know, deformed or whatever. But I'm like, you know, I just want a pet king snake. And so
Yeah.
it's okay to just have pet snakes. Even as a breeder, I just have a few pets too.
You know, this year I bred northern pines, and one of the babies just didn't. Pituophis do a weird thing. After they hatch, they'll all be perfect. I had a female holdback. She was the best. She was red. I don't know why I produced a red northern pine. It's red. It's
They're gorgeous.
it's so pretty. And mine are black and whites, right? Like they're from a lineage of black and whites. I said some to Justin. Justin, those were black and white pines. And one of them came out pretty red. And one thing that Pituophis will do, and this is usually happens in the shedding process, is they will kink themselves. They will start pushing so hard, and something about their metabolism will cause them to kink themselves. I had it happen with the Mexican pine last year, and it died.
Oh, no.
And this year, that female decided, whatever it is that causes this. I've heard about this in Mexicana kings, Leonis, Mex-Mex. If you put them in square or small square type containers, they will actually push so hard on those corners because they're so strong. They'll break their back or kink their backs. And so this female pine decided to, whatever happens, you know what I mean? This is life. We deal with that.
Yeah.
She just kinked the shit out of her neck, and
Oh, man.
she's still eating. Her whole body still works. She's still pooping fine. I know that it was not anything other than something that happened between hatching and first shed, right? Because I saw her hatch and I was like, holy shit. And then she shed and I was like, wait, what? And something happened. I know I could breed her. Somebody could breed her, right? She's probably fine, but she's going to be a pet. She could be my pet
Yeah.
until I find somebody else whose pet she's going to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. I produced a beautiful northern pine snake that's healthy, that eats, that poops, that moves like a normal snake, but it is what it is. And so there's nothing wrong with pet reptiles. You don't have to breed them.
Right.
See, I don't even really chime in on that anymore because it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I breed. I can just really keep stuff, and so it's like one of those things where people want to breed. I'm like, if you want to do it, great. Here's kind of what you can expect.
Yeah.
Godspeed. You know, I don't feel like I'm in any position to really say if someone can or can't since I do it. You know, so it's just like whatever.
First year breeding corns. My Silver Queen Ghost, I believe believe it was from SMR. I actually got her as a close to an adult or an adult. So Silver Queen Ghost, I believe, is Miami phase Ghost, right?
I think it's Keys. Keys
Might be
Ghost.
Keys. Yeah, might be Keys Ghost. Beautiful snake. She was
Yeah, they're
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Bred her to a perfect male. I had a JMG. Hold on, my brain. A JMG Snow. So like a soup. What was sold as a JMG Super Salmon Snow. Bred her to him. So awesome. What's going to happen? She's probably head male. The JMG, the coral's going to go over, and I'm going to have some badass babies. And she died in my hands. That was my first year breeding corn snakes. I produced a couple other corn snakes that year, but she was egg bound. I didn't understand really what was going on. She kind of had a really funky pre-lay shed, and she just never shed, right? And it was like flaking off of her. And I had her in a little tub of water, and I was like, okay, I'm going to help you with your shed. And I was like helping her with the shed. And what I should have done is taken her to a vet. That was my fault. And it's 5 years ago now. And I've been doing this for 22 years, right? So I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. And that snake started peeling off her shed, and I kind of set her down, and you could kind of tell she was getting lethargic, and I held her, and she just died. And, it's the best way to kill a female adult snake is to breed it, right? It's real easy to do it. And we got to keep that in mind. Everybody has the saying, you deal with life, you deal with death. Sure.
Yeah.
But we also force death upon these animals by breeding them, right? Like, is that your favorite snake? Does that snake mean the world to you? Maybe don't breed it, especially if it's a female. If you're not willing to take that risk, right?
Right. Like, I've even had males bleed out from aggressive females after they lock. And I had one male whose hemipene got like ruptured or something, and I saw them lock, and I was like, okay, good. I'm gonna walk away, and I'm gonna come back in 20 minutes. I came back, blood everywhere. The male was dead within 24 hours.
Holy cow.
Just a complete bloodbath, and no eggs came out of it.
Yeah.
Which really sucks.
But, I mean, it is one of those things where it's like
Yeah.
you can only work with the information you have at the time. And so, I mean, even like with that blood red female that got egg bound and stuff, like I felt like an idiot because I should have waited. Like I should not have paired those guys because I had, they, first of all, I felt horrible because those are from sort of a specific bloodline that someone had put a lot of work into, and they were like gifted to me. And like those people sent me those snakes and entrusted me with sort of carrying that particular line on. And I was like, they're both healthy. They're both, no issues, and paired them up and finally got a lock. And then the female just struggled, the entire time. So now I'm like I said at the beginning of the show, was like, now I'm really gun shy about pairing her again. And it's another one of those things where it's like, there's nothing wrong with waiting a year. Like, it sucks. Yeah. I know it's tough, especially if it's something you're like really looking forward to. Like that was one of my most anticipated pairings of the season. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where it's like you have to put patience needs to come for the the potential risks and outweighing weighing those options and what's smart and what isn't. And like I said, I got time, I guess, to figure out if I'm going to try those again next year. They're definitely going to get cooled and stuff, but it's definitely, it makes me think twice.
I don't know what it is. I swear, if you ship a male, not a female, you ship a male, it will not produce viable eggs that year. In my experience.
Nope.
I don't know what it is.
That's really common. That's what happened. That's why they bred the first palmetto with a female that was local before shipping to whoever ended up with it. They bred him to like 2 or 3 females, even though they didn't necessarily want those females to breed to that snake. It was like, if anything happens to this snake and he cannot produce after we ship him this year, we want him to have been paired with something.
Right.
And so, I mean, and that's what happened this year. My most anticipated pairing was that weird VMS coral yellow, whatever he is. And I have a wild caught female, and so I was like, great, that's a great beginner trial pairing.
Perfect.
Yeah. And of course I bred him within a month of being shipped, and there were like 12 eggs, there was 14 eggs, but only 6 of them looked like they might be fertile, and then just one by one they all started turning black, and then there was 2 left that had veins in them, but then the veins in those just slowly got lighter and lighter and lighter until both of the eggs turned green and rotted. So it just is
always
what it
the
is.
boys. It's something about their sperm development, something about how they'll breed. They'll knock a female up. They'll do their best. But for some
he
reason,
was trying, man. He wasted no time. It wasn't from a lack of trying. That's for damn sure.
Because I brumated a female and sent it to Justin. No problem. She did great.
Yeah, females
beautiful
typically
eggs, beautiful babies.
Yeah, she did great.
Yeah. It's something about shipping males to breed. If I ever ship or have a male shipped to me again, excuse me, I will not probably breed them. Which is funny. I'm going to say this is funny. We're talking about shipping these animals to different barometric pressures, different elevations, different places. If I take a male from John, who lives locally to me, or give him a male, it's fine. And I don't know what it is. But also, he brumates my snakes for me, so that might be part of it.
They're used to him.
It's weird, or I don't know. Some people have it to where it clicks, it works, it happens. But yeah, I've just noticed that with adult males, established males, maybe it's even proven breeder males, right, or something like that. As those animals ship, something happens in there. This may be, I listen to a beautiful podcast on the NPR network about Boland's pythons with Ari and Keith here recently, actually today, and they were talking about the psyche of these animals. We overlook this. We just think they're all dumb bags of hammers, but there's things that psychologically go regardless in an animal's based off of its instincts, its innate reactions. And now we're shipping it to a different part of the planet, literally. And is it going to react the same? Is it going to act the same? Or is it going to produce the same? Is it yes, no, maybe? Maybe it takes a year to establish. Maybe it takes a month to establish. Maybe it takes 10 years to establish. And there's something that's going on with a male for some reason that needs to be established in your collection before brumation, before you decide to pair it. So,
but you think that would have had something to do with the fact that she got egg bound, though, because that just seems irrelevant to me. I mean, the eggs not being slugs, like sure, but the egg binding
I've heard
thing,
that
slugs
females.
Are just so much, go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard the females get egg bound. They're more likely to get egg bound on slugs.
Yeah, Jennifer Joseph talked about that in her podcast on Cluebird and Cluebroid Radio. That do not brumate a female Pitiophis if you do not plan on pairing her up. It's safer to pair her up after brumation than it would ever be to brumate her and not pair her up, because she will ovulate, she will develop eggs, she will slug out, and a lot of times they become egg bound.
That makes sense.
And it's the female is going to go through her cycle regardless, because her body's telling her that that's what she needs to do based off of instincts. The male may not develop good sperm because his swimmers have to be much. I don't know shit all about biology. I'm literally making this up on my cuff, but I'm going to assume that his swimmers have to be stronger than her egg development, because her egg development is going to happen regardless. So, I don't know.
I know that they do better when it's cold. Like, it's part of the reason to brumate your male is because it helps with sperm production. But
sure, and then don't keep them too warm, right? Because there's the old wives. I hate saying wives' tale because I believe it is a proven fact. If you keep your males too hot during breeding season, they'll actually cook their sperm, and their sperm count will go down. And I believe there have actually been studies done about this.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I usually keep my males on the bottom shelf.
Yep.
It's the best way.
Yeah. I just keep all of them cold. Fuck them, dude. 75 degrees, they're fine, and just do whatever they do. Don't even brumate them. Just pair them up all year round. But don't do that. That's a lie.
I was going to say, that sounds dangerous.
I definitely keep my males cooler than my females. Or I also keep I am a huge proponent of keeping your collection cooler than what the care sheets from the 80s say.
Same here. Some people are like, oh yeah, make the hot spot like 95 degrees. And I was like, I mean, like, I
don't keep stuff over 86.
Same. If it gets over 86, I'm nervous. I want it to be like 82.
Yep, y'all don't have a room full of Pitiophis. If I have anything over 82 degrees, my stuff starts shitting on the ceiling and screaming at me every time I walk in the room. I try to keep my stuff 78 to 80, 81.
Yeah, that's not bad. I would accept that.
All my thermostats are set at 81 degrees.
Yep.
And then I have some stuff not even on thermostats. My room stays about 78 degrees. Mexican pine snakes stay about 78 year round. I have bred consistently, and babies are doing good. I don't even put my babies on heat anymore. It's just fine.
Yeah.
But we have so much to learn in this hobby. So much still. And so much to rewrite and correct. Again, Sarah, you with your books. You already know. So much of that is wrong. And you know what sucks? And this sucks for you. And this sucks for you on multiple levels. Being that you're a young, intelligent woman that's coming in, and you are literally proving people that they were wrong, right?
Yeah.
And
they don't like it that much.
They don't like that. And old cantankerous, specifically men that think they have defined this hobby and have literally have lower back problems because they have carried this hobby on their shoulders, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Wrong. Yeah, they're wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's not like they were wrong on purpose, you know?
No.
Like, I know that they weren't wrong on purpose. Nobody, I believe that nobody believes that they're wrong. I get it.
I'm always wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if I've ever been right.
I guess personally, like if I believed something, I wouldn't also believe that thing was wrong. Does that make sense? So, like, if I believed that red coat and red factor were the same thing, I wouldn't believe that and also know it's wrong. You know what I mean? So, like, when people believe something, it's not because they're trying to, like, deceive people all the time. Sometimes, maybe. But if they're deceiving, then it's because they do know better. But anyway, that's a whole other philosophical stuff coming out of me. But so it's like I don't blame them for what they didn't know. It's like they didn't know about mask forever. And so when the first pieds were being bred together, it's like, why are we breeding all of this? And we're seeing pieds here, but we're not seeing pieds here. Well, because super mask looks a lot like diffused, and a lot of the trial snakes were super masks and not diffused. That's why you weren't getting pieds. And it's the same way with our coral versus hypo. It's like a lot of the original corals were also hypo. So a lot of people thought that coral snows were hypo, but they're not. They are red factor. And so it's like, and it's like, I know that they didn't know, you know, I know they didn't know, but it's also when new information arises, be willing to be like, hey, thanks for doing that breeding trial and that thing that I was wrong about. Like, it's not that hard.
It's all fluid. Like, it's never static. It's never, we're not in a bubble. Like, there's new information coming around on a regular basis. Like, it's not supposed to stay the same. It's supposed to evolve. Things are supposed to, like, we're supposed to find out more as we go. Like, it was never meant to get stagnant or stay the same.
No,
like, it just always taxonomy, all of it, the entire hobby, in every facet, things are fluid and changing. And
the idea of taxonomy constantly changing and people disagreeing and agreeing with it. Yeah, guess what? Snakes don't believe in borders, right?
They don't. They do not believe in taxonomy.
They believe in geographical borders and trying to continue on their own genetics. And so we have to be fluid with that. This is changing. There's new species popping up all the time. There's species being lumped all the time. Dr. Zach Loffman, who's obviously a big fan of this podcast, listens to it every time, had told me a long time ago when we kind of argued over 2 podcasts that you don't get to beat science without better science. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also like, you may be wrong now, but it could turn out that down the road you weren't. Like, new information comes along, like right or wrong answers kind of, to a degree, sort of like don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, okay, you know, people disagree about the tessera stripe thing, whatever. It's like
everything is made up.
You may be wrong now, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be wrong down the road when new information comes around, like, and vice versa. You know, you may be right currently, but then new information is going to come down the road and you might be wrong after a certain point. Like, I don't sweat that kind of stuff. It's like, same thing with care. It's like what works for me on the East Coast doesn't work for someone up in the Pacific Northwest. It's like,
there are some things that we can debate, you know, not to bring one up, but, you know, we could throw a fishing lure out there and see what happens. But I wholeheartedly believe that tessera is a corn snake only morph. I do not think it came from California king snakes. That's my opinion. I don't think you would be able to breed that in and have snakes that look like corn snakes without 20 years of genetics.
I think that the originals may have been pure. But I have directly spoken to people who have purposely bred hybrids into
Test run.
corn snakes. Yeah, like have bred the Newport into
Newport
corn
gene,
snakes,
yeah.
and they are selling them as tesseras.
Oh, those people are
And
scumbags.
yes, I know. And it has shown up a few times. I someone got very angry with me once because I was she posted a bunch of photos of babies that came from two tesseras, and these were
They were
black
California
with
king
yellow
snakes.
stripes. They were black with yellow
Straight up
bands,
cow kings.
straight up Cal Kings that might have had a touch of corn in them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, so like, where did you get these? Because like they don't, they look a little questionable. She got so mad at me. She ended up blocking me over that. But I was like, you may want to just like, but well, I trust the breeders that I got them from. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. But also like, where did those breeders get them from? Because
Yeah.
like sometimes, especially with hybrids, you may not be able to see that hybrid blood for a few generations. And then all of a sudden, it pops up again. And all of a sudden, you have these yellow and black corn snakes. You know what I mean?
The really interesting thing with hybrids, and I've kind of found this out over the years while looking at people working with hybrids, is as you breed hybrids together, you start getting back to the parent animals. And it's kind of funky because we had a person recently in the alternative world have albinos. Albinos show up in a clutch of leucistics and hypos and blah blah blah. Like, and everybody was like, yeah, well, albino doesn't exist in Alterna. Nobody ever found an albino. Nobody ever hatched an albino.
That we know of.
Yeah, that we know of. But he was like, these are the world's first albinos. Okay, his first clutch of albinos, the world's first albino, was a clutch of like 6 albinos. It's like, that's not how albino works. I know Dr. Wyman got very verbal about this, and I believe also Rob Stone did as well. And it's like, I have a lawyer and a doctor on my back. You know what I mean? But Mexicana kings have been hybridized for years. The only albino that was ever found was in Ruth Van Eye. Pastel kings, all your albino Leonis are all Ruth Van Eye hybrids, and it's funny because if you keep breeding them together, eventually your Leonis, which are extremely variable, and we all know that the variable king can look like many different things, will start looking like Ruth Van Eye. And it specifically starts looking like a wild phenotype, and you're like, oh, damn, this het albino Leonis looks a lot like a Ruth Van Eye. And it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. But now it's popping up anyways. That's a whole, we could do a whole podcast on
it is
on
a whole
that,
thing. Did you guys hear about the potential first hypermelanistic corn snakes hatching?
I did. I heard about it.
Yeah.
Super interesting because hypermel pops up very often in the Lampropeltis world. It's very specific how hypermel works. It is found in wild animals in Getula. Hypermel is found in wild animals in Leonis. Sometimes it's recessive. Sometimes it's kind of like a co-dom situation. Sometimes it's like a line bred thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did hear that there was a hypermel corn. Piqued my interest. I didn't get to ingest a lot of it. But could you tell us in 2.5 hours or less?
Sure. All I know is it was a French breeder. Can't remember the name. And apparently they were breeding 2 Miamis together, and just got this like black corn snake out of these 2 Miamis.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, to be honest, it could just. I mean, it looks visually like a very dark charcoal.
Okay.
But kind of like it almost looks like a charcoal cinder. Like if I was going to describe it, being like phenotypically similar to something we have already.
Hypermel exists.
Yeah.
In Guttatus. In
Yeah.
Emery. We have. Yeah. I have chocolate Emery.
Yeah.
It would be real easy to have that gene extrapolated.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I watched their original video, which was 100% in French. And I don't speak French or understand French, but I put on the subtitles. And there was an interesting part of the video where they were like in the snake room where the eggs were hatching, recording and talking amongst themselves. And one of the guys said, yeah, the mother was really dark. But when they modified it for English speakers, that part was cut out. And so I don't know what that means. Maybe it wasn't completely cut out, but the subtitles were definitely different between the official subtitles versus the subtitles that they created for the video. So I'm not really sure that
hybrid. The MRI hybrid thing is really interesting because one thing I think everybody should be aware of it. The people that did it, Don Soderbergh was actually very fluid about the fact that scaleless came from MRI.
Yeah.
Right. He took the literal world's first wild-caught scaleless MRI, plugged it into corn snakes. It does not exist in the MRI world anymore.
Yeah, which is interesting.
I don't know.
I mean, really interesting.
As a person who's got like 12 MRI being bred next year, nobody cares about us.
That's kind of unfortunately true.
Yeah, but no, the hypermel gene and what's that, Justin?
Nothing.
Nah, dog. I mean, I heard some shit. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy. But the chocolate gene in MRI, it's a hypermel. It has some really interesting pattern morph to it as well. It does very odd things with the pattern.
Yeah. I've seen it, and that's the same thing with this supposed hypermel corn as well, because the belly pattern is weird. The head pattern on it's really weird.
Looks like a spotted python.
It's very strange. Yeah, it does kind of look like a spotted python. I've had spotted pythons. I love them. If I was gonna, I've had spotted pythons a few times, but they just don't work out in my collection. Corn snakes are the only things really belonging in my collection right now anyways. But I don't know where it came from, and I'm a little skeptical, and they didn't really show any like good photos of it, which is really annoying. Like, why wouldn't you be taking thousands of photos of this animal and posting them everywhere?
Yeah.
But I saw like one Facebook post, which was just the video in French, and then they reposted the video with English subtitles that they typed up. That was it. That's it.
There's a little bit of this hobby where it's like, it would be widely accepted if somebody was just like, "Hey, I took a chocolate MRI and I bred it into corns, and this is how this."
Yeah, if they were honest about it, I'd be like, "Okay, we knew that was going to happen." Like,
and that doesn't mean that it didn't pop up. Like this has already popped up. Well, were you gonna say something about silverleaf? Did somebody already put silverleaf into corns yet? Is that already a thing?
Kinda. I mean, they're breeding. They're kind of doing that. I wish that they wouldn't really do it, but it's gonna happen.
Just
it's gonna bleed in eventually.
Has anybody taken a silverleaf and bred it to a sunkiss and just seen what happens?
I would like to know that, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did have at one point some sun-kissed Kisachi corn hybrids, but there was no mention on whether or not they had any silverleaf in the background. It was just the sun-kissed.
Yeah.
So,
see, I have deep lineage, Nueces County. Blessed be that Lord. Thorn scrubs that are striped. They're reverse striped. And there was a wild animal that was caught by Toby Brock and bred into a normal. And then we got muddled, aberrant animals, and then they line bred them back. I've got F3s, and mine are like perfect reverse stripes. So this has been tight knit in the thorn scrub hobby, right? The four of us that were excited about it.
I was going to say all five of you.
And so, but at one point it came up, and I've talked to multiple people about it. I was like, well, what if I take this like first generation? If I take a first generation reverse stripe thorn scrub and I breed it to a wild caught thorn scrub, I'm going to get very, very, very interesting looking animals, all of them. What if I put that to a corn snake, right? It's already been done a million times, taking MRI into corn snake, right? Like this is a thing, and so it becomes a moral dilemma, right? Like, is this something that I want to do? Is this something I want to go through? What happens when those genetics start mixing with Motley?
Well, that's the problem. Like, no one has an issue with people doing it. It's where they go after the fact. Like, once they're out of your hands, you have no control over where those float off to and what they get paired to and where the communication breaks down as far as what they actually are.
Scaleless is a perfect example of this.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many people who are, in my opinion, hilariously confused when they like will post a bunch of baby corn snakes that they don't know the morph because they look a little off, a little funky, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a het scaleless parent," and I'm like, "Well, there's your problem.
Yeah.
That's why your babies look weird.
They're
It's
root beer
because they're
corns.
hybrids."
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah. The amel in Emryi and the amel in Gutatis do not mix, right?
Correct.
So if I
They
took
are
a
two mutations. Yeah, I've actually run into this. I haven't personally run into it, but I've seen people run into this problem in the past where they're like, "Well, I bred two amels together," and I was like, "Was one of them a creamsicle?" Yeah. Okay, then you got two different strains of amel, buddy. Sorry, you're
yeah,
sorry.
and stuff like that usually peters itself out, right? Like people understand that creamsicles have kind of died out of the hobby. Root beers too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless you're gonna like, I feel like people either want like an amel. I think honestly, I feel like buff helped like push creamsicle out because a buff amel looks very similar to a creamsicle,
Yeah.
but it's not a hybrid.
Yeah.
And so people are like, "Oh, I get the same look, but it's a pure corn." And so like
Yeah.
people just don't care about. And I also think that especially with the introduction of the scaleless
Yeah.
being so prevalent, people just don't care anymore if
Yeah.
there's a hybrid. I have had one person since scaleless became like popular contact me specifically wanting a creamsicle, and I had one. Like I have a creamsicle ultramel.
Yeah.
Like she's an ultramel Okati from creamsicle lines. So like her babies are technically creamsicles if they're
Yeah.
amel, you know. And so I had them, but like you know, and there was also additional yellow because of that ultra background. But I think that there's just kind of a combination of things going on all at once right now that is kind of making them not particularly sought after.
Yeah. It's almost It's a weird thing because people new to the hobby see creamsicle and oh wow, I bought this beautiful creamsicle corn snake. It's like no, you bought a creamsicle hybrid, but anyways, yeah, that's a whole other.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole.
That's a
podcast
whole
on
other
hybrids.
thing. We could sit and talk about all this. I could talk about corn snakes until my head falls off.
Good, because we're gonna have you on more episodes.
Yay! Fine with me.
But any other favorable last words as we kind of hit close to the 3 hour mark. I hope people are
I
still
know.
enjoying the. This is a. I like it though. We got to do this more often. I want to do.
If they don't like it, then they can.
If you don't like it, then leave.
Pieces. Yeah.
I mean, because we're about to talk for an hour about that new Zelda that just released the trailer. Yo, let's go! I'm in. I know.
Tears of the Kingdom, my friend.
Are you gonna play Breath of the Wild again before it comes out next year?
I'm probably not going to play through the full story again. I'll probably refresh myself with the like literal list of memories that you have in the original
mechanics
game.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the mechanics might be different. There might not be any point really.
Totally
you know,
true.
I mean, who knows? I am looking forward to it though.
Oh yeah,
we can talk about that when people who only care about snakes are gone. I guess. Whatever.
On the first episode of Zelda Stars.
Also, I do have a second channel for opening Pokemon cards and doing Pokemon streams.
Nice.
It's just Joy Princess Sarah on YouTube. If anybody would like to go subscribe, I can't do live streams till I have 50 subscribers, and I think I only have like 12 right now.
Go subscribe, people. Come on.
If anybody likes Pokemon cards as much as I do, I might also stream gameplay and stuff on there eventually.
Nice.
But I need to have enough subscribers to stream. So, okay, that's it. That's awesome. My last.
Where are you going, Pain Chab?
I know. Like, where are you taking us?
Sorry. I'm still here. We're still here. We're good. I had to open the garage.
We're skeptical.
Look at that shirt, boy. Who made that?
Hey, Lizard Brain Radio. Let's go. What's up, Bill Bradley? Herpetoculture Network. Let's go.
I'm actually wearing right now. Does anybody recognize? Hold on. This art. Maybe.
I don't actually.
It's by Donovan Winterberg. He does 90% of these things you see in the back.
Yeah, he was just on one of the Snakes and Stogies episodes. Great episode.
Yeah. He made it's the fancy corn snake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I got this shirt a million years ago. It's super faded, but
that's awesome.
Fancy corn.
That's great.
Cool. Well, this episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Hit us up. Need a rack, need a cage. Send us a message. And Silent Hill Reptiles. Shout out to JT and Mindy. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram as well. SilentHillReptiles.com. Stay in the loop. I don't believe we're doing THP tomorrow because we did this tonight. And my wife will probably appreciate that as she stands here waiting for me to be done. And we'll be back Monday night for Snakes and Stogies. We just did a really good episode on snake fungal disease with Alex Romer and Dr. Donald Walker.
That's awesome.
Check that out. It was really informative. I'm glad we did that. Learned a lot about it. Heard a lot about it. Now I know a lot about it. So check that out. And we will be back when we are back. Sarah, you
Love
got
you
anything
guys.
for sale right now? You got anything you need to?
Sarah Snake Shop, Facebook, website, Sarah Snake Shop on YouTube. If you would like to learn more about corn snake morphs, that is the main thing that I do on my YouTube channel.
She makes it much more understandable for people like me. And they're hey, woo, look at him.
He's moving all around today.
He's like a prairie dog.
He's backwards suddenly.
And he's muted. What are you doing outside? You looking
Be
for
quiet.
tree
Be quiet.
clobbers? I don't hear anything.
It's gonna be okay.
Okay.
Guys,
Whatever.
check me out on Instagram.
It's pretty
Can you hear
sus.
me?
Yeah,
hear
we
me?
can. I know there's some weird Blair Witch shit we got going on right now, man. I'm so scared.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I hear rain. Is it raining or are you peeing? You're peeing, aren't you?
Are you peeing while you're on the
my
podcast?
God, he totally is. I was like, is it raining?
Dude. How would we know though he's muted?
He's muted now. That's totally what he's doing. Anyways.
Boys are weird. Pretty sus there, bro.
What happened?
Sus Ibaka.
So I didn't close the camera, but I muted, and I had to go check something outside. Our water sprinkler is going fucking crazy.
Yeah, you had to check the
Okay.
water sprinkler. That's
It
what it was.
hasn't been raining.
Checking the water sprinkler.
It's weird. Come on. You know what I mean? Heart problems. Leave me alone.
Mm.
Anyways,
Sus.
hey, so if people are still listening, I'm so sorry. We're talking about for episode, I think it's almost episode 1000 at this point, but the next episode would be episode 10. We were talking about maybe doing like a live episode where people could ask questions. Maybe have Sarah, maybe even another guest on. Have a little pantheon of corn snake demons. You know what I mean?
Pantherophis Pantheon.
Oh my God, the Panther.
I like that. That sounds really good.
I feel like Joe's going to get off of his rollerblades and join us, right? A little Joe Phelan action, just going to hop on it, do a little backflip, jump in.
I mean, he's a pretty fun guy. I've done a couple podcasts with him too.
Yeah, I got to hang out with him in real life. It was pretty fun. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
But no, maybe we do a little Pantherophis Pantheon and we ask some questions and, go
That would be
live
fine.
and just say a little AMA, a little Reddit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Might
And
be
we
kinda
could
fun.
even we could link up in a Discord or something and everybody could talk, or I don't know.
I don't know what
I
that
have
is.
no
not
idea
that-
how those work. I've
Okay,
heard of them,
never
but
mind.
I don't know anything about them.
We're dumb. But
Never
yeah,
mind then.
awesome, guys. Well, this has been a fun episode. I think we covered a ton of subjects, and then we really hit the Motley and Stripe. So I appreciate it, guys. Sarah, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
we'll
you.
try to see what we're gonna do for 10.
Oh, there he goes. We're gonna try to see what we do for 10. We'll make it happen.
That's what we do for 10, I guess.
Froze? Nope. All right. Well, everyone have a
We're
good evening.
out.
Chris kicked himself out.
Yep.
So
Bye.
thank you. Bye.